and welcome to episode 141 of Zapped to the Past. I am Adrian Mills, and I'm joined as always by Mr. Graham Raddings. If you haven't listened before, this is a podcast where we discuss games that were released for the Commodore 64. Last week, we looked at our first batch of games from issue 57 of Zap 64, which we are in no way affiliated with, and were grabbed by the ghouls and ghosts, meandered in the moribund Moonwalker, and sought out the treasure in the Snappy Snare. This week, we conclude our look at the games in January 1990, along with what was lighting up our TV and cinema screens that month. Graham, is the new decade starting to deliver a wealth of new goodness, or are we still wading through the molasses of the past?
In this old arcade fuel but not necessarily driven, crammed full of quality episode, we upgrade everything but our kitchen sinks and kill everything in the exciting world of Retrograde, flap across a crappy world dropping poop parcels in the abysmal Dragon Spirit, and confuse everyone with our crappy joystick drawings in the awful Pictionary. Just when you think the C64 soup can't taste worse, we had a whole load of fish juice. As if all that Retrograde aside, bum biscuits wasn't enough to pollute your afternoon tea, we then delve into the wacky world of Bangler and Mulk. Yes, that's what passes for 90s nonsense in the utterly confusing Ninja Warriors. We take a nosedive into the meatball-headed utter stupidity of the terribly dire Double Dragon, before finally taking a rest and just double-checking the Zap review and wondering where the 12 crappy days have been spent with the "that screenshot ain't the same" cacola of Operation Thunderbolt. Arcade conversions are thick and fast. I could insert a horrific ball-based joke in here right now, but I won't. Some of these games are stupid, and some are crap, and some are both. Let's just explore this together.
Well, we'll just have to find out, won't we, in an exciting show that we like to call Finding Out Stuff.
Yay! Well, yeah, it is.
That's what it's about. That's what it's all about. That's the thing. That's the thing.
It is what it's all about. So, yeah, it's a new decade still. Feels weird. It feels weird.
There's always hope.
There's always hope. I was thinking, I felt like the Christmas break we had and the Breadbin Awards, and in fact, it's over Christmas and stuff. I felt like we were at Rivendell in Lord of the Rings, and now we've left. we had a nice sojourn into Rivendell, and now we've left, and we're on our way to the mines of Moria, where bad things happen.
Lots of bad things happen. Yeah, we're going to meet Balrog, all right.
I think we may very well do. Yeah, it's in the yeah. Who knows? But that's what I feel like at the moment. Anything you want to say for this week? It's been a strange.
No, it's been a strange old week, busy week, and just I don't know. I mean, it's a bit of a mixed bag. It's not how I expected 1990 to start. Well, it is and it isn't. It's not the surprises that come along. It's just the continuation of the formula. And then, of course, in this particular episode, there's one particular thing which we'll probably talk about when we come to it, which is quite interesting.
Absolutely. It is arcade port heavy this week.
It's been like that for the past episode, though, wasn't it? We seem to have got somehow somebody just decided to convert everything.
Yeah. Well, there was only one last week, but there's 66% of this week is arcade ports.
It's more than enough for the likes of us.
It is, that's true. But there's only one original game. Original. Because the other one's is a board game as well.
Version of a version, yeah. I suppose you're right.
It is a board game. So let's just get into it. Should we get into it? Let's just
let's go for it. Let's go for it, yeah.
Let's go for it. Let's do this and let's get into our first game. And, well, that first game is Retrograde. Retrograde. That's £9.99 to you, and 94%. This was a sizzler. This was. Okay.
Sizzles.
It sizzles. It's another game from Thalamus. Following on from last week's excellent Snare, can Retrograde carry on the level of quality we saw with that game? A lot of credits on this one. This is developed by Apex Computer Productions and produced by Transmission Software. The coders here are John Rowlands and Rob Ellis, and the visuals, loading screen, and music are all by Steve Rowlands. Now, obviously, these Rowlands are a talented pair. Between them, they worked on that Scorpius, which was that never-ending shooter we saw ages ago, where you collected the letters, which is all right for a budget shooter. It was pretty good. They also did Cyberdyne Warrior. We've got that coming this year. But they also did the very highly regarded Creatures 1, 2, and Mayhem in Monsterland. Okay,
which I know what they're doing then. I know what they're doing.
So technically, I know this. So I'm expecting decent things. We'll see. The story. So that's them. The story to this was always a story. It's Thalamus though, so not System 3. So it's not nonsense, just overblown nonsense, Mark Cale nonsense. But there is an odd one.
8 pages.
It goes like this: a contest has developed between 7 evilly gross and ugly despots in the the universe, each to invade the most planets within a chosen system. The Thwok system is now targeted for takeover, and seven of its planets have already been conquered. Now your home planet, Choom, is under threat. Hardened battle veteran and bounty hunter, you volunteer for action. A dose of mayhem will make a pleasant change. You vow to destroy the aliens and their 7 nerve centers. Your objective is to kill all the nerve centers and save Choom, but they're located deep in the core of each planet and can only be engaged once the planet is destroyed. You must set charges around each protective core, destroy the planet, and then fight the hideously twisted nerve centers. An easy task, were it not for the vast number of alien forces commanded by the nerve centers trying to wipe you out above and below ground. Fortunately, dying aliens often deposit diamond crystals, easily converted to Ara, the local currency, or planet busters, essential to destroy the conquered worlds, and sometimes shields to protect you from limited amounts of hits. Ara and shields are left in the air, planet busters on the ground. That's it. That's your story. It's not too bad. Nice and simple. Kind of gives you a feeling of what you got to do.
Yeah, it's not over the top, is it? Generally speaking, that's pretty damn good.
So what does all this amount to? If you want a blaster on the machine, then I'm not sure they come much more blastier than this. But if there's a blaster rating, then this is at the top. This will destroy your thumb, unless you have a joystick on with an auto fire, I guess. But yeah, this is a proper thumb breaker.
It's a blisterer, isn't it? It's a thumb blisterer.
Yeah, this is just an out-and-out shooter with a side order of punching, but we'll get to that in a bit.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
I played both a disc crack and an easy flash cart version, and it all worked, just a bit slower loading. Not terrible, but okay. For the main chunk, I played the flash version, which made it for a much smoother overall experience. Very quick, very fast, that was. So as the game loads, we get a very nice title screen, and you shows our jet-packed hero. He's firing his laser, and there's a really nice piece of music as well. In fact, there's a suite of music throughout this. I'd say this is a very good offering. Variety of quality tunes throughout. I think Steve Rowlands has done a very decent job on the sound here. Like Snail last week, this is an immaculate presented game. And once we get to the title screen, this continues with some great demo-style effects on the logo of the game, with cycling colour bars playing off against each other. I really like the way the logo starts in black and then the colours sort of fade in through it. And it's on that coloured background as well. And all the sort of scrolling across the bottom with the high score table and the credits and everything. It's great. The music here is also excellent. Really nice piece. Solid, dark, and moody piece. I'm not sure it feels like it, but I'm not sure it fits totally. It feels a bit more like it should be for a fighter of some sort. It felt like a fighting game piece of music. I don't know just what it was, but rather than an arcade sci-fi blaster. But whatever, it's a good piece of music. And the opening impressions here are positive. Stab at the fire button, and we're into the game proper now. In the easy flash version, you're just straight in. There's no messing about here. And even on the disc version, you are as well. It is a multi-load disc, but it loads in the first level with the title screen, so that's always good. You don't have to wait for anything. Maybe the only thing I would say here is that I would have liked maybe just a bit of an intro to just ease me in, because you press fire and it's like, go. It's like, okay, better start shooting, because you just got to set your controller to blast, because you're going to be doing that a lot. The screen layout is mostly game, I guess. There's just a character line at the top that shows your score, your present health, represented by 5 diminishing bars that deplete from right to left, the number of lives you have left, and finally the amount of Ara you have collected. There's a little A icon next to that. It tells you that's the Ara amount. That changes though. The visuals here are medium res, but have a very nice style to them. Some great shading, and I thought the game resembled Drop Zone quite a lot from the outset. It's controlling a jetpacky man. There's stuff flying all around the place, and you're shooting stuff. It's like Drop Zone. Your guy floats in the middle of the screen. At the bottom, there's a scrolling, looping landscape made up in level 1 of buildings, and there's a sunset-style backdrop. It's nice parallax scrolling effects as you start to move. All good, all fast and smooth. The game plays out against a black background with some random twinkling stars, and as soon as it starts, enemies just fly in from either side. Just everything. There's just enemies, and they're waiting to be blasted. On level 1, the enemies take various shapes, from Zenon-style rotating squares to other little jetpack people to people flying on motorbikes and random shapes and all kinds of stuff. Your job here to start with is just to blast everything. Just get that message. Shoot. And try and avoid contact with anything, as this will lower your health bar. As you play, there's some really nice touch to this. As you play, you can hear your heartbeat at all times. And the lower your health gets, the faster it beats. And also your character starts flashing, signaling you are near losing a life, which is some great feedback, both orally and visually, to let you know what's going on. Controls are simple enough, with 8-way movement and fire to shoot. That's it, really. When you shoot and kill anything, they will invariably drop a crystal, which you need to pick up, as these increase your aura, and you'll need this to upgrade your weapons and do other stuff with it as well. Use other stuff to spend your aura on. Along the floor, there are creatures walking about, and if you fly close to the floor and pull down and press fire, you will land and start walking. Here you can move left and right, and fire does a punch, which you can use to destroy the things on the floor. You have to punch them a few times. Again, it's very fast. It will punch as fast as you can press the fire button. None of this namby-pamby slow punching. It's like, it's punching. You do not collect aura from them, though. But there's a reason you'll need to do this. You've got to go down to the lower bar for a reason. I'll come to that in a bit. If you press up and fire, then it launches you back in the air to start blasting again, collecting aura and stuff. Most of the buildings along the bottom, well, they're just for show. It's just graphics. And they're nice, but it's just graphics. But there are some you can actually interact with. And the first of these, which you see when you start the game, right at the bottom, you'll see the shop. There's a shop on each level. And if you land on the ground, then walk up to the opening and pull down and press fire again, you can enter the shop, and here you can upgrade your flying weapons, your ground punch, and even buy a planet buster. But more of that in a bit. When you select flying weapons and then buy, this takes you to the buy weapon screen. So this is quite nicely laid out. On the first level, you only have access to shot and radian, although you can see that there are a further 10 weapons, and then they are not open to you yet, so they're sort of grayed out. You can't use them. Those extra weapons, they are super shot, quad, triple, atomizer, fireball, zenith, diverger, spread, powerbolt, and laser gun. So these are listed in the center of the screen, but only shot, like I said, and radiant are in white. They're the only two that are open to you. On the right of the screen is a close-up of your character, and around them are 16 arrows where you can place certain weapons. Selecting shot makes the arrows to the left and right of you turn yellow, indicating you can have a basic shot both in front and behind you. On the left of the screen is a list of the arrows, so you can see which arrows equate to what and what weapon you've got in what. And when you start, most of them just stay empty, aside from one pointing to the right, which says shot, because that's the only weapon you have when you start the game. It's basically you can shoot to the right or which way you're facing. Mm-hmm. So at the bottom of this is a list of the number of points you also have available to place new weapons. Each weapon costs a different amount of points. The more powerful they are, the more points they cost, and you've only got a certain amount. So alongside the word shot, you'll see the number 1. So in that list, there's shot, and it's to the right, and it'll say number 1. This is the power level of that individual weapon. So if you select Radiant, though, then 8 of the arrows will light up on the right, along with their corresponding place in the list on the left. If you have enough aura, you can buy a Radiant shot for any of the arrows, and you can buy whichever ones you want. So, for example, if you want to have a forward-facing spread, nothing behind you, fine, just buy those. So you just buy those 4 that are facing frontwards. If you want to play a game where you fly as low as possible and shoot upwards, fine, just buy the ones at the top, buy those. It's completely up to you. It's absolutely 100% open how you want to upgrade your weapons in this. So the choice is up to you, and when you go back into the game, that's the weaponry you'll have. So once you go out, what you've spent on, you'll start shooting in those directions or with that power. Every time you buy a new weapon, it uses up one of your free points that are on the bottom of the list on the left. Like I said, so you cannot have every point filled with a gun. You need to think about what you want and what style of blasting you want to be doing. The shots and all the weapons can be upgraded as well. So if you have, like I said, if you've got the shot and that's going to the right at the moment when you first start, if you click on that and then click on it again, it'll go to power level 2 and then power level 3. These are replicated in game. They're shown in game. And they increase the power and they do more damage. So that's quite good. The shots back and forth, because you can have one going forward and backwards. They can be leveled up to power 4. And they sort of have this little sort of arc graphic, the sort of 2 bullets, 3 bullets, and this little arc. And they do much more power, much more damage at level 4. The radiant points can be upgraded to 10, and they sort of fire off whichever direction you picked. Like I said, there's 8 directions they can pick, and I think most you can get at this point is up to, you could do all 8, I think, if you don't have a backward shot, and that's how many points as you can have. So as you start to build these up, you very quickly become just a death-wielding nightmare, which is really enjoyable. You're just blasting. There's so much firepower. It's just incredible. You can also sell your weapons if you're not happy with them, and you sell them at each level, so it's not just one and they're gone. If you're at level 4, then you have to sell, knock them all down, and you get money for each level. A lot less money than it took to actually upgrade them, but that's the nature of these games, isn't it? And you're going to need to, because as you progress from level to level, of which there are 7, then your previous level's weapons simply won't cut it on the new level. The enemies take more damage. So you need to dispose of them to get points back to buy the more powerful ones, because more powerful ones become open. So on level 2, you get access to the super shot and the quad. Super shot is like an upgraded shot, and the quad is doesn't fire in as many directions, but it's like an upgraded radiant shot. But they cost more money, more aura. And so there's this loop of selling your weapons, moving on, getting the ones, powering up the weapons for that level and blasting through. And that's what this is all about. It's a really good system and encourages you to always be upgrading to new toys as you get further into the game, because you want those more powerful ones because they do more damage to the later levels and the bosses and everything like that. And you can also power up your Power Fist. But again, you can only do this on later levels. It'll sort of one at a time, and you need to upgrade that because of what you actually need to do with that Power Fist, and I'll come to that now. Back into level and on the ground, you'll see some locked doors along the bottom. So there's, as you notice now, you'll see these yellow locked doors. So to open these, you've got to walk along the floor, and you've got to find the right alien. There's aliens walking about. You've got to punch the right one and kill them. And if you kill them, they will drop a Planet Buster. It's a bit arbitrary, this. I was never quite clear which alien to kill. I think on the first level it's clear, but on the second one it won't. When you do kill the right one, they'll drop the Planet Buster or a charge. So if you take this, so the aura icon on the UI will change to a little star at this point, and you head back to the shop. So what you've got to do here is for 500 aura, you can buy a Planet Buster. Once you do, then one of the doors outside will open. Okay, so you fly to that, go down to it, press down and fire, and enter it. And then the game changes at this point into like a downward scrolling platformer.
It does.
Which is quite interesting. So you're all walking, but there's these platforms. So the controls here are, when you're on the floor. So here you can jump as well. So up is now jump. Fire is do the punch, and left and right moves you. You've got to make your way all the way down to the bottom through these sort of very nicely drawn levels. There's enemies dotted about. You've got to kind of punch them to kill them. Try not to take as much damage as you can. When you get to the bottom, there's usually a creature down there. It's sort of some creatures, and they grow in size as you go on, and you've got to punch them and kill them. And when you do that, that sets the charge, and you walk back out to the playing field. In the first level, there are 2 doors, so you've got to do this twice. So you have to find the 2 enemies along the bottom. I think it takes a little bit of time. You can't just do it at once. No. It takes a little bit of time for the enemy to sort of spawn with the planet or the charge to get the Planet Buster. So you kind of it's encouraging you just to go around and blast crap and get aura and power your weapons up. And I think there's a little sound effects because there's loads of little sound effects pinging off. And I think one of them is actually to tell you that there's an alien there to go and kill to get the charge. I'm not entirely clear on this because it doesn't say in the instructions, but I think that's what it is. Eventually they will, though. And as you progress to later levels, you will need to upgrade your Power Fist in order to kill them, because on the second level, one of them is hidden behind a rock, and only the second level Power Fist will destroy it. So again, you need aura, Power Fist, 500. You've got to keep... It's a loop. You got to keep upgrading. This game needs you to keep upgrading, wants you to keep doing it. So once you've completed all the downward sections, there's 2 in that first level, you've got down to the bottom, you planted 2 Planet Busters, then you'll be warped to the boss of the level, which you've got to take out. On level 1, the first of these, it's like a large, sort of tall spaceship type thing, and it's got guns at the top and bottom, and you've got to take those out, and then you can blast it in the middle, and then blast it again in the middle, and it blows it up, and then you take out the core, and then it's destroyed, and you move on to level 2. Second, on level 2, the end boss here is like a strange plant-like creature with lizards on it, which need to be taken out before shooting like the heart thing. Level 3 is another floating spaceship, needs to be blasted. Now, I'm not going to spoil the rest, but they're unique and offer a decent challenge. You've got to, and you need to sort of get your weapons up as well. They're also harder enemies to defeat at the bottom of the platform levels as well, and these increase in difficulty as you progress. The levels themselves are all different. Each one and each boss is a separate load, and they range from organic forest type levels to ice crystal type stuff, to all kinds of different designs and stuff. So there's really a really good design ethos to this, and as you progress, there's a load of new stuff to play. All the enemies seem different. There's loads of good stuff. Upon completing each level, you get a little fireworks display and a unique score. This is quite cool. You get a unique score for each level. And as you progress, your overall score is made up of the score you attained in each level. I quite like this idea. Sort of thing. You can kind of, I got that on level 1 that time. I'm going to try and beat that one, or level 2 or whatever. So there's a sort of ongoing score attained here. And should you complete all 7 levels, and you get a fully animated end sequence, some excellent effects as you fly back to Tume, to the gratitude of the people there, and some more cool music. It's all good. You fly back into the planet, you land, ace stuff. So yeah, that's the game essentially. Shoot stuff, upgrade your weapons, fly around, drop these Planet Busters, beat the bosses, carry on. It all works really smooth. It's a really good loop. As I said, it's beautifully presented throughout. Visually, the sprites may look simple, but they really work here. There's some great animation on some of them. I love the jetpack people trying to turn around when they're kind of like trying to sort of turn around and they're sort of running in midair. I think it's a really, really cool animation. And more importantly, no matter how much firepower you are packing, there is no slowdown or flickering anywhere, or none that I picked up on. Scrolling is constantly smooth. The action is frenetic and non-stop. It really is an incredible technical showpiece of a game. Even on level 1, if you enable all the Radion shots and the amount of stuff flying around the screen, large bullets firing in multiple directions, load of enemies flying or walking around, always responsive controls. It never falters. This is some smart piece of code, and there's a really good level of engineering under the hood here. It's really impressive. And some of these bullets that you can fire, especially on the later levels, like if you power up the super shot to level 4, it's got this kind of cool sort of sine wavy type bullet which you fire, and you can fire that out back and front with these 4 other bullets, or you could have the radiant fire. It's just crazy stuff. Crazy. The shop is great to use. The ability to set up your weapons as you want them is very clever and really easy to use and get to grips with. Once at first you're like, what do I move in? But sort of because left and right move you back, and up and down choose one. So you get used to it though. It's quite easy to get used to. The sound's also great with little effects to let you know of extra lives. But it is like a Paradroid sound effects. Loads of extra lives. Extra lives and stuff to pick up, shields to pick up, and there's a good bass throb for your weapon fire. I never got tired of the noises in this never annoyed me, which is always a good sign. Good. This is deeply impressive stuff, but, and this is the caveat with this game, it's essentially a game that's based on grinding and loot chasing. It's one of those. You need to spend a fair bit of time grinding for Ara to build up your weapons in order to have a fighting chance against the enemies, against the bosses, which are not that hard if you've done that grinding, but you need to do that because they need some decent level of firepower to take them down before they whittle down your lives, because they're quite ferocious in the missiles and stuff that they fire out at you. Because you fly around blasting for some time, collect tokens, then drop down a series of platforms to plant one of the bombs. And that's kind of the loop of this. It's not a bad thing, but you can find yourself just flying around and blasting to collect loot and upgrade. And then that's it. That's the game. How much that appeals to you is how much you're going to like this, because it's almost a game based on, you can just keep going. You don't have to collect a Planet Buster. You can just keep going, which is kind of weird because we don't get blasters that play like that. The levels, you got to shoot all the things on the level, like drop zones get to level 1, level 2 gets harder and harder and harder. This doesn't. This is like, just keep going if you want until you kind of leveled everything up, and then you're like, well, I suppose I should move on. And on that level, I think this feels quite modern in its design, as a lot of games these days are based around those exact principles. This even lets you equip weapons as you see fit as well. Like I said, this is not like you got this weapon, the salamander, there's kind of upgrade trees which you go through and they all are the same. You've got a sort of choice about how you want to sort of put the weapons in and what power you put them to. And I think that's, this is really quite forward thinking. I can see why this got the rating it got, and I wholeheartedly agree with it. I'd have put it higher. If you got an auto-fire joystick, there's a direct line from this to something like Vampire Survivors, where you start off weak and end up as like a tornado of death as your weapons constantly power up. It's an early auto-scrolling shooter, but you just got to actually, it's not auto, that's the problem. You have to keep firing. So it's one of those upgrade loops. It's a great freeform blaster. It's both technically very clever and fun to play, and also allows you to become an absolute monster once you have everything upgraded and lay waste to all before you. True. It's a power fantasy. It's always a good feeling in this type of game to lay, and this is really I think the first game on the machine that has captured that to this degree and kept it all running smoothly as well. Think about Salamander and those other games. There was always a little bit of slowdown. Armorlight was technically very clever, but was very prescribed. This isn't. I wasn't sure what to expect from this. I came away very impressed. Very, very impressed. I've been playing this non-stop over the last few days. I'm absolutely in love with this game. I think it's brilliant. One of the best games I've played for ages. I think it's got that loop, and you just keep going and blasting and shooting and killing. Loved it. Absolutely loved this. What did you think?
It's average. I think there's anything special. It looks very nice. I mean, I'm not going to knock it. The graphics in this game are really, really good, especially in the later levels, the bits with the levels and the bosses. They're really nice. Really good pixel shading, if you like the idea of just grinding for diamonds, essentially what they are, and then just powering up your weapons. And the upgrade, possibilities are crazy good. And that's very different. I'll give you that. It's very different. It plays differently to other shooters as well. It sort of has an initial kind of defendery, almost jetpack type vibe. You think, okay, but there's a lot more to it than that. Well, there's not a lot more to it. There's a lot more to what you have to, what it is. But once you've reached that pinnacle of that, there is no more to it. It's just that. And that's fine. If that's what it is. There's no sort of, it reminded me of Destiny, and that's in that sense that, you could just keep getting weapons and you keep blowing stuff up, and you just keep getting weapons and you blow stuff up and you get stuff. Okay, fine. It's unusual for that. And I've sort of, do I like those kind of games? I've always found them a bit tedious over time, but that's just, that's just me. This was an interesting thing to go back to, principally because when I had it on the C64 back in the day, I never managed to get a fully working version of this ever. This game always started and crashed. Must have been a very difficult crack. I know Thalamus games were famous for having quite complex disk protections and quite complicated games to crack overall. But I never really had a fully working version. Ironically, when I was playing it for this one, it also crashed a couple of times. But that's, just a quirk of the way that Vice is currently working on a Mac, which isn't massively brilliant. I did manage to get it running in the end and quite successfully off the CRT. So the gameplay is a good combination of things and done in the right way. I think it's a bit ahead of its time in the sense that sort of grind mechanic and the look and the polish. I think the in-platform levels, if you want to call them that, the sort of the inside levels, I think they are much better graphically than the opening level. I think the opening gambit actually undersells. Yeah, but and then again, once you get the power-ups, it starts to look crazy.
Yeah.
One thing I will say is that the power-ups that you get in this do actually feel like they power you up.
Yeah.
You do start to, it had that kind of, there's a couple of games where you go a little character and then you get, power up after power up after power up after power up. And it's sort of just, sometimes the power-ups just feel like they're in a tree of power-ups. The speed-up power-up. You got to get the speed, then you get the double shot, then you get the... This one, there were some spectacular combos you could build, and then there's no real...
It's all
you
weaponry
can put
as well.
Away you want. Yeah, you can triple the shot at the front, stick some at the back, put some at the angles. You can do what you like.
Yeah.
You're configuring this. And that has an appeal, I have to say. And again, a very modern idea of gaming. The idea of being able to pick your upgrades and bolt them in, well, that is very modern, or at least should I say modern games obviously owe a lot to this kind of thinking, so it's quite refreshing that way. But I don't know, my only issue with Retrograde is that it's just boring after a while. I have the same problem with Destiny, I have the same problem with them all.
It's a loot shooter.
Yeah, I get it, but it doesn't make it exciting for me. That just means it's boring.
It's if you like loot shooters, or if you like this kind of thing, then this will appeal to that loop. If you don't, then you're not going to. And I get that. I completely understand that.
And that's fine, because that's just, the way I like to play games. It has a very modern kind of mobile approach to this. So I can see this working really well on mobile, and you're having to get the little upgrades, and there's extra, it's a jetpack joyride with extra added weaponry, and just and it's that kind of idea, not necessarily just running and scrolling to the right or left, but that idea of just go in, get out, upgrade, find your thing, do the thing. There's bosses in there. You can complete the game, which is interesting. There is an end, and it has a nice polish. However, you either like these games or you don't. I just found myself just thinking, once I'd been through 50th combo of things, I was like, okay, and back here I am again, shooting the blocks that spin and the little things and running up and down, punching stuff. And okay, I can upgrade the punch, fist, whatever it is. I just kind of thought, it became a bit one note after a while, but I suppose that's the point. But it's not my cup of tea. But that doesn't mean it's not a good game, nor does it mean that you shouldn't go and try it. And I have to say, looking at the production and the way this does and the sound and everything else, 94%, come on. It's a gold medal.
Yeah, it is. It very much is.
I mean, I don't like this kind of game, but I would, I concede completely that this shouldn't have been a sizzler at 94. This has got 96, 97 written all over it.
Mm-hmm.
This should have been a gold medal. It is, and it should have been a gold medal. But every time they have something they're not quite sure about, because this doesn't quite fit the mold of shooter in the traditional sense, they just seem to go and make it a sizzler. They did the same with IK. They never gave IK a gold medal because it's like, well, it's just more. It's like, no, this is doing something really unique and different and better in different ways. Just throws me when they do this. And yet, we have stupid scores in this issue of Zap. And then when we get good games like this, they just underscore them. It's like, just stop with this stupid stuff. And this is partly one of their own, isn't it? Thalamus, isn't that part of the bloody publishing company as well?
It was, yeah. Ghouls and Ghosts and another game took the gold medals.
About shitting in your hands and clapping. Well, like I said, I find these games a little bit boring, but that doesn't mean that you would find them boring, and you didn't, and it doesn't mean that everyone would. It's a beautiful looking game, but excellently put together and very excellent in its execution. There's no doubt about any of that. So go try it out and see what you know. And then these guys know the C64. I mean, look what they do later. So this is just a step along that journey. Go try it out for that. Ignore the stupid Zap score. And, if you like grinding games, this is right up your street. So, yeah, it's good. It's not my cup of tea, but it is very good. I just find them a bit dull, but that's just me.
No, I can completely understand that. I think like I said, I put nearly 100 hours or so into Vampire Survivors last year. So, and that's a game which is even less than this, in that you just walk around.
I don't have 100 hours to put into that.
It was over a long period of time where each run's about half an hour, and I just did it over quite a long period.
100 hours is a long time to just wander around and do that.
It is, but again, these games can get their hooks into you.
Into you, maybe, but that's fine, and that's they have a niche. I tell you what is impressive with this is how early that thinking is in the games. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize this. I mean, always assumed, because of my memory of Retrograde, that it was more like a sidearms type shooter.
That's
I think
what
it's because of the way it looks.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's they've taken some of the elements of sidearms, the kind of weaponry upgrades that you get, and then just kind of made it into a big selection process and just blow shit up. Well, you know what? There's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Keep blowing stuff up.
The later on, when you get to the later levels as well, like I said, the graphics for the bullets and stuff get really
amazing,
impressive.
the graphics. They're all good. Graphics are really
the
high standard
explosions
here.
going off left, right, and centre, the sound effect, and no slowdown, none.
There's a lot of characters moving on here, and there's not a lot of sprites moving around. And where they do, you've got lots of... You haven't got... I'll tell you what you haven't got, and I think this is probably what separates it. You don't have lots of sine wave enemies. They just kind of come on and mill about a bit and bugger off, and you've just blasted everything in sight. That works for this. You don't need all them stupid sine. I'm so sick of sine wave shooters, I could puke. I'm quite glad for them, just all over the place. Works for me. When the Delta tradition, wave comes on, wiggly, wiggly line. Wave comes on, wiggly, wiggly line in the opposite direction. It's like, it's not that. At least not wholly that. Good.
No.
Good. Works. Good.
It does. There you go. Retrograde.
Yeah. It's a very brilliant game. It's just not the kind of brilliant game I like.
That's Retrograde. Should have been a gold medal. Bloody Zap. Let's move on. I'm sure the next one will be just as good.
We say it every bloody time.
I have to. It's become a catchphrase. Let's move on to that. And so, Graham, it's down to you to tell us how good Dragon Spirit is.
I'm sure I will, and you'll enjoy Dragon Spirit. So this was from Domark. It was copyright Namco Tengen. Yes, it's from the Arcade Obscura, this one. The coding here was by Keith Purkis. It says Pac-Man in the game. I guess that's maybe his nickname or something, or maybe he just didn't want to be involved with it. Graphics are by Paul Johnson, and the musician here was Dave Kelly. So Dragon Spirit is a 1987 vertical scrolling shooter arcade game. This is from the Arcade Wiki. Developed and published by Namco. In North America, it was distributed by Atari. Ooh. Controlling the dragon Amor. Hey. The player must complete each of the game's 9 areas to rescue the Princess Alicia from the demon Zarwell. Why? Similar to Namco's own Xevious, Amor has a projectile weapon for destroying air-based enemies and a bomb for destroying ground-based enemies. That bomb can only be one thing if you're a flying dragon, can it? It ain't a bomb. You're dropping massive great dragon shits, aren't you? That's what you're doing. Anyway, ran on the Namco System 1 arcade board. So, C64 version then. Well, I can tell you straight off the bat, Adrian, the C64 version is a blocky, inept piece of shit. This game contains everything I hate about bad conversions, everything. The graphics are a badly shaded, oddly coloured, blocky nightmare. The screen size is diminished, so we've got thicker borders. Always a good sign. The UI is just basic text across the bottom of the screen. Your dragon, quote unquote, looks like a crap medium res blocky balloon animal. The enemy sprites barely resemble anything from what I could see. This feels like someone at the arcade explained to them, perhaps over a CB radio.
Yeah, probably.
After the crap title screen, where you can see such exciting delights as the scores, keyboard controls, and the bonus tokens, great, along with an annoying version or an attempt at the arcade music, you can start the game if you want to, and which by some miracle loads each level in, one at a time. Why, how, who, when, what? But it does.
It does.
Area 1 pops in, and I mean pops into view, and the blocky monstrosity will be revealed to you. Your flapping dog turd is controlled with the joystick. Fire shoots. There are tokens to collect that will upgrade you, and that's about all there is to that. Trust me, you won't get that far in this because it's that bad. As a top-down shooter, this is rubbish. The scrolling is smooth, I guess, if you can call it that, and you get attacked by waves of enemies that fire near on impossible to see crappy character graphics at you that kind of fidget and twitch around anyway, and do that kind of horrible character shuffle. Not good. If they hit you, the game kind of jolts, and there's no final animation for the dragon or anything. It just kind of goes, and then just start again.
It does, yeah.
And that's how it works. So it's like, I've been hit. It's like, oh, why? There is nothing, and I mean nothing good here. Not only is this expensive for what it is, there are loads of better games for less money. I mean, even far back as Warhawk. So, we're going back a long way here for games that were £2 that are just better than this in every way. It's hard to explain how bad this game looks for a game in 1990 when you've just played bloody Retrograde.
Yeah, absolutely. Didn't do it any favours.
It's impossible to explain how crap it looks. It makes BBC games look good. and high res. It is awful. So there's nothing good about this. Like I said, it's expensive. Go and get any one of a dozen other shooters that are better than this. Even Xevious is better than this. And this is based on the same bloody thing. So in order to sort of explain the nature of the game, you fly upwards, you control the flapping dragon, things come downwards, and you shoot at them, and you will get killed. Okay, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. So my take on this was, you know what? If you're going to spend 10 quid, throw a little bit extra in and go and buy a copy of the Shoot 'em Up construction kit and make your own version of this, because it will be better. I'm telling you, you'll do better than this. Because all of the engine that's built around the Shoot 'em Up construction kit makes better games than this out of the box and this actual piece of crap. They'd have been better off just buying that and making this game with it. Yep. Absolutely unbelievable. I mean, granted, the arcade is a really obscure old thing. You know, I've never even heard of it. Have you heard of it?
No. I
mean, it was probably popular because it's a shoot up in the spirit of, if you imagine 1942 with a dragon, it's pretty much that.
Yeah.
You know, just take the sprites out and put them in and you've got kind of this kind of thing with the same kind of sounds and everything else. Oh, anyway, I don't think anyone was crying out for it though. Do you? I mean, I don't think anyone sat there going, oh, where's that dragon spirit? Why haven't they done a version of that? And then somebody suddenly had a brainwave in 1990 and went, you know what? Let's make it look like it was made in 1984. That's when they were asking for it, or whenever it was. 1980, whatever it was. I mean, when did it come out? 1987. So it's not a great looking and great playable arcade. But the one I looked at it on YouTube, it just looked like a boring 1942 upward scroll. Not very exciting either. And so there's dragons in it. So what? And there's a little bit of brouhaha and dragons at the start. Dragons, so what? Bah. No. Everything here is so badly made. This is an embarrassment to the C64 in 1990. This should not be. It's got 24%. Come on. 4. Give it below 10. This is rubbish. It's rubbish. It should never have been released. It's awful. This is no more an arcade conversion than the last piece of fish that I ate from the fish shop. It's rubbish. I hated it because it was so bad. I doubly hated it because I just played Retrograde and played this one. I was like, what the hell is this awfulness? So, no, there's nothing good about this at all other tthan the fact you can turn it off. What about you?
Please stop. Please stop with these awful arcade conversions. Please stop. They barely represent the original. So the original, because I played it, it's got. You're actually quite a small dragon in the original because there's a lot of screen space because it's got tall vertical. So you don't take up that much screen space. But here you're massive. You take up far too much of the screen. So it's just, that's not good. So what happens when you're massive in a shooter? It's very hard to avoid anything.
And they shrink the screen size down, so you've got even less screen to go around. Why?
And everything, as you rightly said, is ugly. It's so really ugly. The backgrounds, the sprites, the music, the colour, the choice of colours.
You don't like purple and green?
So much blue and purple. It's horrible. It's awful. Yeah. We've had so many decent shmups, both horizontal and vertical. This to come out in 1989-90 and look and play like this, no. I mean, Light Force was 4 years ago now. That was good.
It's just unbelievable.
Terra Cresta, Slap Fight. Yeah. That one that was, you mentioned the BBC. What was that one that was converted from the BBC by Nick Pelling? What was it? That kind of weird fire track. That was all right. We've had loads of decent vertical scrolling shoot 'em ups.
Yeah,
there's no reason for this to be like this, and so because I went and played the arcade game, and it's what it actually is what you wouldn't get from the C64 version. It's like you said, it's Xevious because basically you've got targets and you drop bombs, and it's kind of a Xevious type thing. There's no way to tell that here though, with the flickery visuals, horrible gameplay, and a massive oversized dragon sprite.
Yeah,
nah.
That fidgets when you die.
I'd rather drink dragon spirits than play this.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
this was bloody rubbish. 24% is too nice to this. This was crap. This is one of another in the long line of terrible conversions.
Yep.
May not be the worst we see this week, though.
No, I don't think it will be, but it's certainly it's just, you know what, they're lining themselves up for the awards at the end of the year already. No, that's good to see, isn't it? It's good. That's commitment, that is.
They saw 34 years into the future, we've got to be in that Bread Bin Awards, even if it's for the shittest thing ever.
Yep, exactly. They knew.
Let's move along. That's enough of Dragon Spirit. I don't want to speak of that anymore. And our last game this part is, it's Pictionary, the game of quick draw.
Yeah. Okay.
There's a word in that title that don't belong there.
There's 2 words that don't belong in that.
The game of quick draw? Quick. It's another board game. It's not a board game, is it? I suppose it's not a board game, Pictionary, is it? Or it's a board game. It is
Family
a board game. They always work well in the C64, don't they? They've always worked well. The only one that's actually liked was that Trivial Pursuit one.
Yeah,
and Brian Clough's Football, that was quite good, but that used it in an interesting way. This, though, it's the computer version of Pictionary. It was released by Domark Double Domark.
They're on a bloody roll.
And it was made by Oxford Mobius. I have no idea who they are, but I'm guessing they're not part of the Matrix.
James Bond.
Well, they're not part of the Matrix. The Oxford, that's Morpheus, isn't it? Oxford Mobius. Yeah, or an enemy of James Bond. Yeah, that's it.
So you think that's Pictionary you're playing?
Who are you? We, Mr. Bond, are the Oxford Mobius.
You expect me to die? No, I expect you to draw, Mr. Bond.
Not on this crappy thing, I won't. I don't think this is going to take very long. If you're unfamiliar with the game of Pictionary, I'm just going to let Wikipedia do the heavy lifting here because it's like whatever. Yeah. Pictionary is a charades-inspired word-guessing game invented by Robert Angel with graphic design by Gary Everson, first published in 1985 by Angel Games. They licensed Pictionary to Western Publishing. Hasbro purchased the rights in 1994 after acquiring the game's business of Western Publishing. Mattel acquired ownership of Pictionary in 2001, so it's owned by Mattel now. The game itself is played in teams with players trying to identify specific words from their teammates. The objective is that each team moves a piece on a board game formed by a sequence of squares. Each square has a letter or shape identifying the type of picture to be drawn on it. The objective is to be the first team to reach the last space on the board. To achieve this, a player must guess the word or phrase being drawn by their partner. That's the whole point of this. You get a word, a phrase, you have to draw it, and people have to guess what it is. That's it. If the player lands on the all-play square, though, one player from each team attempts to illustrate the same concept simultaneously, with the two teams racing to guess first. The first player to land and guess correctly at the finish wins. Categories that the drawings can be chosen from are a person, place, or animal, an object or action, difficult, or all play. There you go. So essentially, this is Trivial Pursuit with drawings to guess instead of questions. That's what it is. And I was always rubbish at this because I'm a terrible artist. Just terrible. So I can't draw. So whoever was on my team, if I was in teams, they had no chance. They were doomed to fail. To the C64 version, it looks like it tried to mirror the 16-bit versions in the layout of the board and what's on the screen. But it's tried to do it, as we saw in that Sporting Triangles game, in that horrible high-res mode that rarely works on this machine. It's like, this doesn't look
washed
good.
Out.
It looks bitty and ugly and washed out, from the outset.
Yep.
The game starts with the board. There's no title screen that I could find. And the default mode is simply one-player mode with the computer drawing the pictures for you to guess. I cannot think of anything more boring or depressing. I literally cannot. I'm going to sit here and watch this computer slowly draw things. Then it then says to me, "Did you guess it?" I did. Oh, well done.
So stupid. It's
like, what is this? But some people might like it. Some, I'm not going to judge, but some people might. I didn't. There's some options at the top, and you can control this by either the joystick or with the keys that are indicated against each option. So M for menu, H for help, L for level, so on and so forth. Moving up to the menu, I'll press the M. We can leave the menu. It's kind of odd. Leave the menu. I just got here. Change the number of players in the game or start a new one. You can change the time for drawing and guessing, practice with the drawing tools, or get some help. Changing the number of players allows you to play with up to 4 players or with 4 teams. If you play in teams, then you have to draw the pictures with the game's built-in drawing package. This opens up whenever someone has to draw something and allows you to slowly do line and boxes and circles and fill stuff.
Oh my gosh.
It's slow. I mean, I guess it's okay, but it's very slow. It's very, very slow. Controlling it with the joystick is not fun. So on the 16-bit versions, you'd have had a mouse. So if you're drawing stuff, you click, draw it with the mouse quickly. You can do that quick. Drawing with the joystick, just no. Even when you watch this computer draw stuff, it's like, oh God, it moves because it even moves over to pick the icons. Just do it yourself. Just put the drawing on there. Don't show me. The game is played out until one player reaches the end. I can't see anyone wanting this version of the game. It's clunky. Drawing anything is a pain in the ass. And whilst watching someone struggle with the tools might be fun for a bit, but I don't think it ever would be. You just want the board game variant, which is infinitely better and quicker and more suited to group play. Like we said with all these bloody board games. If you're desperate for some one-player Pictionary, I don't know, this might appease. But then even then,
Pictionary.
I know, who'd thought of that? Then the ugly graphics, the boring drawing, and the awful, horrible sounds.
Dear.
Sound effects, they're awful. They won't keep you playing this for very long. This got 68%, Graham. No. I'll tell you what.
No way.
You should have seen the drawing I did to represent my feelings of this. You'd have guessed what it was because there were flies flying around it.
I can imagine.
Yeah, this was awful. Rubbish. I'm not going to say any more. What is it to say? It's a crap version of Pictionary. Yep. What did you think?
I thought it was a crap version of Pictionary.
And there we go. That's this half over with.
Yeah. Well, it's not much to say about it. It's crap. It's a really crap version of Pictionary's all right. But for this money at $14.99, go and buy Pictionary.
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention.
It's easier to pick up a pencil, even if you're crap at drawing, and draw on a piece of paper than it is to try with that stupid drawing tool. It's like trying to draw things with koala paint when you don't know how to use it with a joystick. That is my idea of a nightmare.
Yep.
So you end up I ended up creating what looked like 4 interconnected lines. And I'm like, what? It's rubbish. It's just rubbish. I mean, even if you just used, maybe you released a package of Pictionary, and all the C64 did was just manage the process of whose go it is and keep track of scores and just the management of it. That would have been preferable to making you draw with the stupid package. Mm-hmm. Awful. Just buy Pictionary and play that. And just, you don't need to spend 250 quid on a Commodore 64 if you want to play Pictionary. You can just spend 15 quid and just pencils, probably quite cheap as well. Paper's got 2 sides. You can use it loads.
It's got both
utterly
sides.
It's just pointless. What was the other one? The other game like this that was just pointless.
Oh, Scruples.
Scruples. They're just pointless conversions. Look, we've said this many, many times over the life of this podcast. There's some games that just don't do them. There was no one asked for Pictionary on the C64. No one wanted it. No one cared about it. No one would ever want it because it's bloody stupid to do it that way. Same with that. If we're going right back, that match fishing game. Nobody wants to match fish on a Commodore 64. Nobody wants to play Pictionary on their own with the Commodore 64. That's the idea of really, really severe depression to me. That's depression, isn't it?
Yeah, but that match fishing did allow you all to sort of sit there with your hands under the table and then jab away at the keyboard.
The excitement of not knowing if the fish is going to strike. With Pictionary, no one's going to know what you're drawing because you're going to go, there you go. What is it? I don't know.
Did you guess it
use your
right?
imagination. No. I'm trying. Yeah, exactly. It looks to me like you've drawn some lines. Rubbish. Just rubbish. I don't even want to think about it anymore. It's just stupid. Don't make these games. No one likes them. No one wants them. No.
No, they don't. There we go.
It's terrible. It's a terrible. So crap. Between that and Dragon Spirit, all my hopes, like I said, it's not my cup of tea. But all my spirits raised by Retrograde because what we said all along, for the past few episodes, when the games are good, they're really good. And this is a perfect example of that. One amazing game. You go, look at the graphics and the pixel art. It's amazing. And then comes one dog turd and another dog turd. And you're like, well, why? And again, I apologize to our listeners that are scatologically sensitive, but sometimes you can only express it in these terms.
It's literally one step forward, 2 steps back.
Yeah, and 2 of those steps were into some kind of mess that you didn't want to be involved with.
Absolutely,
a manhole.
Absolutely, you're gonna be getting the hose out to clean your shoes with that lot.
Exactly, you step back into a manhole and someone dropped a hammer on your head. Just as you went in. Yeah, awful.
And then someone drew a picture of it that you didn't know what it was. What's that? Don't know.
Exactly.
Don't know. Is it a really shit dragon? Yes.
And I tell you what, I think doubly makes this bad for me. I'm not a very good artist anyway. This did not fill me with confidence. This did not help my drawing confidence to play a game where not only am I bad at drawing, but I'm doubly bad at drawing because I'm trying to do it with a stupid, nonsensical tool. No, I don't generally, if I'm going to write something, I don't go and get a joystick and try and write with the joystick. I'll use a pen. So, well, yeah, exactly. In this, no. And what other great fantasy games, family games of this type are going to come out now? Goodness me, I don't want to think about it.
No, I don't. No. Let's not. Let's just move along. Let's move along. Let's
get
end
lost,
the half.
Pictionary.
We'll
yes,
end this,
please.
Here we go. It's been 1 good and 2 terrible.
1 amazing, 2 rubbish.
Yeah, 1 amazing, 2 rubbish. Ugh. But let's move along. We'll get to there's games coming later. There'll be fun and games there as well. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and see what's going on. The land of the silver screen and the TV screen in January 1990. Please stick with us. And here we are again. It's the 1st of January. It's TV for 1990, January 1990. What's going on? 1st of January, New Year's Day highlights, Graham. On BBC One, it's highlights. They included the network television premiere of the 1985 romantic drama Out of Africa, starring Robert Redford and Meryl Streep.
You know what? We had to watch that in our house.
I'm not surprised.
We were made to watch it because my mum was really into that sort of stuff. It was so boring. Almost crying with boredom at that film at that age. It's just so, especially on New Year's Day, because you just want to be sad. It's almost like it's the second Christmas Day. You're gonna have something to eat. You're gonna probably have a few drinks and that. few sweets and whatnot. Just put something exciting. The most boring film ever. It's just endless boring. It's the most boring thing. Boring.
And there's nothing to do on New Year's Day, is there? Everything's shut.
Nothing's open. Everything's shut. It's boring. Boring. So dull.
Well,
so
if you didn't like that, you could have watched the 1982 musical sequel, Grease 2.
Oh, gosh. Right. I'm going to confess something to you, Adrian, right?
Uh-huh.
Grease is a bit of a guilty pleasure of mine, the film Grease. I don't like musicals generally, but not only is it a guilty pleasure of mine, I must have watched Grease. In fact, I could right now, and I'm not going to, I could recite the entire script to you, all of it, from memory, because I've watched it that often. Yeah, Grease is the word.
It was a culture. I think it was a cultural thing for young ones of us.
I absolutely had giddy fantasies about Sandra Dee and Olivia Newton-John and just
John Travolta,
maybe. But more importantly, it's just I've watched it that many times on video. I mean, like crazy. Yeah. In fact, let me tell you something, and I'll confess something really stupid to you. Not only did I watch this in times two, I also watched this entire film several times backwards.
Why?
Anyway, I don't know. Just I did. All right, I'm leaving it there. So I really like Grease, and I like I said, I know it off by heart. That's how and it's just one of those films. It's like everyone has the film that they watched a lot when they were poorly or if they were ill. We had one copy on video, and it was I just really liked it. So Grease 2 came along, and it had a lot to live up to, but it is crap.
Yeah, Michelle
Pfeiffer in it playing. And I'm like, she's not Sandy. That's not Sandy. That's no in. I just know it's not. Rubbish. No.
Yeah.
Songs in it are really awful. It had a real Xanadu vibe about it, and I never liked Xanadu either, even though that is Olivia Newton-John.
No one did.
No. And it's another one on bloody New Year's Day. Happy New Year. Out of Africa. Grease 2.
Can I go play on my Commodore 64? Anyone want a game of Pictionary? No. Why'd you buy me this? Retrograde's out.
I put Dragon Spirit on. You bloody won't. Not in this house.
I'll need to get on the spirits to play that. Also on 1st January, if you didn't fancy either of those, there was the debut of the iconic sitcom Mr. Bean on ITV, and Rowan Atkinson as the titular character.
I didn't realise that was on that early.
Yeah, it's dead early, isn't it? Wait, I thought it was much like, I thought it was mid-90s, but
yeah,
1990.
I did. No, absolutely blew my mind.
First day of the 90s. There we go. But it's not funny, though.
No.
Let's just say it. It's not funny. It never was.
It's just never tickled my bean.
No.
If that's the aim. If indeed that was the aim of it. I've never found it funny. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I really like Rowan Atkinson, and he's an amazingly clever guy and a very, he's famous for his kind of elastic face, and all the rest of it. And I'm sure the situations of the silent comedy of Mr. Bean are timeless enough to go across the world. No, this is a massively syndicated show. I think I've seen every flight I've ever been on. If there's been in-flight entertainment, has had a Mr. Bean episode on it everywhere, and I've seen people of every nationality watching it. So it's it's got that kind of silent comedy appeal. It's Charlie Chaplin did it millions of years before this.
Yeah.
I'm fine if you like it. I just didn't get on with it. It's never really made me laugh in the same way that South Park's never made me laugh. So I don't know what that says about me, really.
Don't say anything. Just says you don't like those shows.
Yeah, that's it.
I never liked Mr. Bean. I didn't find it funny. I just wanted more Blackadder.
Yeah. I liked his. I like that kind of characterization. Mr. Bean, somebody that's walking around going, toothbrush. I'm like, I'm sure your sides are splitting, mine aren't.
No, they're not. 2nd of January, well, it just gets better. Granada's flagship nightly news programme, Granada Reports, is rebranded as Granada Tonight.
Stop the press.
Aren't you, for all our international listeners, aren't you jealous that you weren't in the UK back then?
For those of you tuning in tonight for tonight's Granada Reports, you'll be pleased to know that it hasn't disappeared off the schedule. It's now been called Granada Tonight, but it's on tomorrow night now.
Here, Deirdre, they've rebranded it. I can't believe it. I don't think I'll watch it anymore.
The problem with branding it something like Granada Tonight is how do you then get the continuity announcers to work with that? And that's tomorrow night. Granada Tonight's on tomorrow night. It's tomorrow. It's called Granada Tonight, though.
Please join us tomorrow night for Granada Tonight.
Granada Tonight. It's just like, I could imagine the Redverses or his equivalents in those territories, just they're going, it makes no bloody sense. I can't say it.
Yeah, but the Redverses equivalent of them would be calling it Granada.
Yeah, it's Granada Tonight. Yeah.
The first episode of the 6th Teabag series airs in which Georgina Hale debuts as Tabitha Bag, the second Teabag.
Tabby Bag.
Tabby Bag. Teabagging exclusively on iTunes. I don't know what this is. What is this?
It's a kid's show, and that's all I remember of it. And there's a kid in it called Teabag. What he does, I don't want to think about, and I'm not going back to look. I'm not Googling Teabag.
Best not to.
The outcome is ridiculous.
Finally, 2nd of January, the 30-minute weekday 6 a.m. Ceefax slot returns to BBC One. God, it's so boring. Rather than the special pages used for Ceefax AM, the content is the same as for all other Ceefax broadcasts.
Well, thank God TV in the 90s was so exciting. That's all I can say.
I mean, this is the start of the decade. Start with a bang, at least.
Now, here's the thing. So I actually believe this is unbelievable, but somebody recorded Ceefax from the 13th of April, 1990, and put it on YouTube. In fact, there's a whole series of Ceefax pages from 1990 on YouTube. So if you want the real experience, I'll put that link in the show notes. Just go and watch a bit of Ceefax, and you'll get the full vibe. People, what the crazy stuff people put on YouTube, it blows my mind.
Yeah. More interesting. Oh, good Lord. 24th of January to the 3rd of February, the BBC broadcasted the 1990 Commonwealth Games. BBC One stayed on the air all night to provide live coverage.
It did.
First time that BBC One had provided full live coverage of an overseas Commonwealth Games. Around 12 hours of live action broadcast each day.
Wowza. You just know by the end of those sort of closing hours, all the presenters that were not used to doing long sort of stints like that were all bleary-eyed and haggard.
and probably going a bit crazy. But look, it's the 100 metres again. It's the 100 metres. He's keep running. He's still running. Is it a marathon? He's still running. Calm down, Jeffrey. Calm down.
They'd all turn into sort of crazy versions of Alan Partridge. He's got a shuttlecock. It's not blooming working. I don't know what's the matter with it. It's squash. It's squash, that's why.
I imagine by the end of it, they'd probably feel like they were in that Ghost Watch.
I can just imagine, can't you? So we're going to look at the tennis chat. Oh, it's not tennis. Sorry, no, my mistake. Swimming. We've got swimming now. Well, that threw me. I'm sorry, I'm a bit tired. I haven't really slept, and I don't know really what I'm saying.
What day is it? It's finished yet. I've been doing this for a week.
They won't let me out.
I can't leave. But anyway. I'm presuming it all came from the US, but this over here, this must have been the start of that sort of long form sports coverage that got going.
Where was the Commonwealth Games in 1990? Where was it held?
Oh, I don't know. So, I can have a look.
Does that mean is there time differences and all that to contend with?
It was Auckland, New Zealand. That's why they could go through the night.
That's why it was on all through the night, because it was on in the day there. Cheeky monkeys.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, cheeky monkeys.
Exactly. 27th of January, the final episode of Bob's Full House is broadcast on BBC One. I've put a clip here. Hopefully you enjoyed that Narnia advert at the start of it.
Oh, that's where you did that circle thing. I was like, oh, right, top draw special effects there. Wow, look at that. Yeah, great.
I was a big fan of Bob Monkhouse. He always used to make me giggle. Just king of the compares. Really was. Yeah. Fast, king of the, he had those gags, just constant gags, gag machine. And not all of them landed, but some of them did. And when they did, it was always like, oh, God. I just liked him. It was a sad day when this stopped, because I liked Bob's Full House. That was one of my guilty pleasures game shows back then. Were you a fan?
No, but I'm not a fan of Bingo. I don't agree with it.
I love Bingo. Bingo's
I know you
great.
do. I know you bloody do.
Great.
And you've got golden dabbers, I'm sure, but I can't stand bloody Bingo.
All the twos, 22.
I can't stand
7
it.
7 and 1,
I can't.
71.
You can't make numbers fun by just introducing stupidity to them. You can't.
Maggie's Den, number 10.
Yeah, right. So this is TV bingo, isn't it? But that's not to say that Bob Monkhouse wasn't a interesting compare and character, because he was a really good comedian. And I believe, although I couldn't find anywhere that would confirm it, but I believe he had a photographic memory.
There was.
So he could sort of record his jokes into his mind, and then that's when he's doing his sort of his stand up at the beginning of that show, which is way longer than it needed to be. I felt like it went on for ages.
That's the thing. He does massive intros after game after show is his stand up,
because it's like bloody bingo afterwards. That's why. Yeah. But I found a really nice website, which was called, it's an article about Bob Monkhouse called The Million Joke Man, because he was famous for having a million jokes in his memory, wasn't he? That's what they're saying. And it's really good. And some of his jokes are in there, some of the best jokes that he wrote out. And there's the one there which says, last week, my wife served me something for dinner. That was so foul, I gave it to the dog. And he licked his ass to get the taste out of his mouth. Comedy gold. So that's a Bob Monkhouse, that is. He also said, I'm someone lucky I caught the wreath at a funeral, which always gave me a chuckle. That's the kind of thing. I like that kind of thing. But I think he's way better than a lot of people give him credit for that kind of thing. I think he just got branded with the wrong bunch of comedians at the time. I don't know why. It's not really unfair. He was always funny to watch. And I think Jimmy Carr has made a career out of ripping him off. When I watched that, I was like, I know you've made your own observations, but I was just like, it just struck me at how much Jimmy Carr is almost transforming into Bob Monkhouse, and that kind of one-liners and the way even his delivery style.
Yeah, I thought that when you're watching this, I was like, but his kind of mannerism stuff, how much David Tennant ripped him off for his Doctor Who character.
Yeah, I saw that after you'd said that. Yeah, it's a very astute observation, that. Yeah.
I was like, this reminds me of someone. I was like, oh, it's David Tennant. But
yep.
Obviously just based his English character on that. But anyway, it's a sad shame. Bob's Full House.
Yeah.
No more. No more. But there's loads of the episodes on YouTube. We'll link to one. You can go watch them if you want.
Go watch it. He called his last bingo numbers, wasn't it? That's it. I'm out of here.
He did. 31st January, the network television premiere of the James Bond film A View to a Kill. What goes around comes around, Graham. Stars Roger Moore and all the rest.
Yeah. Dusty Bond, of course. I mean, we spoke about Dusty Bond at great length, didn't we?
Way back. That was way back when we first started.
It was, yeah. And it's because that shows you how long we've been doing this podcast. It's come on TV, and that in the UK time span, that was epic. Yeah,
that is. Yeah, this might be. Is this one of the first ones that we covered at the cinema that has come on telly?
Yeah, I think it might very well be. Yeah, it's got to be one of them up there. But yeah, it's just. What more can we say about this film than we've already said? I found a really interesting article, actually.
It's rubbish.
called Diamonds Aren't Forever, Roger Moore's A View to a Kill. And there's a really little interesting footnote about Roger Moore, including a really cute little story, which I will say, because I don't know. I mean, we were critical of Roger Moore and everything else. And he was I think he's in his 60s or late 50s, 60s when he was that Bond. He was heavily criticised for being an old Bond.
He was too old. Yeah, it was one too many.
He was clearly too old, and I think he acknowledged that. And even though he's apparently more physically active in that one, he's just, he's tubes at risk of flying off at any point in that. But there was a really interesting little footnote where this kid was at an airport back in when airports didn't have first class lounges, and Roger Moore was sat across from them, and he noticed this, and he said to his dad, "Look, there's James Bond over there." Not just assuming that it was James Bond. So. He said, "Do you think we can get him to sign my, ticket for me?" So they went over to see Roger Moore, and he signed, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, give me a piece of paper. Nice to speak to you, blah, blah, blah." And he signed it Roger Moore. So then it's his dad who went, because the kid was too nervous. So the dad went to get it, came back, gave it to his kid, and his kid was like, "He's put Roger Moore. Who's Roger Moore? It's James Bond. I want James Bond in there." So the kid went back with his dad, and he said, "Look, you've written Roger Moore, and he wants to know why James Bond." And apparently Roger Moore leaned in and he went, "I can't write James Bond because Blofeld's watching every move I make. So I had to pretend that I'm Roger Moore, and I can't tell anyone, but I'll keep the secret between me and you." And I thought, how cool is it? So that's apparently the kind of character that Roger Moore was, and for real. So, but it doesn't stop him from being a dusty, brown jacketed crazy in the film, does it?
Absolutely. Wrapping his old dusty limbs around young women.
Well, we don't remember what we said, the old broken Hoover bag.
Henry.
What is that? It's like a fine ash. It tastes like chalk and
let's not go down
baby powder.
Let's not go down that dusty road again. Dusty roads. Finally, sometime in January, don't know when, for the first time, Emmerdale is networked across almost all of ITV, airing at 7 p.m. on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
What happened to January 1990?
January has a reputation for being the most boring month ever.
You're not kidding.
We confirmed it.
We have proved it in tests, yeah.
And finally, Chrysalis Television takes over the contract to produce London Weekend Television News.
Oh, great. I'm sure they'll do a great job.
Who the hell are Chrysalis?
I don't know. There's obviously some production company, but the last Chrysalis I knew of was to do with Prisoner Cell Block H, I think, an Australian production company. I could be wrong, though. Could be wrong. Maybe, and I hope I am, because if I know that, that's terrible and terrifying thought that I know about Chrysalis Television for no reason. Mm. But I did notice that you put "Who the hell are Chrysalis" on our notes, and just put they grow the pods. That's all we need to know. They just grow the pods. Let's leave it there.
Let's leave it there. Let's get some new TV shows. We've already mentioned Mr. Bean. Let's not mention that anymore. 2nd of January, though, was Gophers. This was a Channel 4 children's program about a family of American gophers who move into a new neighborhood called Sycamore Heights, living next door to a family of uptight but well-informed, well-intentioned rabbits, the Burrows.
It's horrific.
It wasn't good, was it?
No, they look really ugly and weird. It's horrible. Yeah. They're not gophers. Gophers are cute little furry things that go on golf courses and do stupid stuff. Not this thing. Yeah. It's a giant, ugly thing. What the hell was that? No. No.
3rd of January, though, you could have watched Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
Ugh, stupid.
Yeah.
Was you a fan?
What? Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles?
Just of the whole Teenage Mutant Turtle thing.
I don't want to be one of... I mean, I got into them earlier because my friend Darren got the role-playing game
Mm-hmm.
So he got the role-playing game, and I was like, oh, okay, that's quite interesting when there were Ninja Turtles, and it was quite interesting. We never played it. We just kind of liked the idea. So I kind of liked that. I was never... I'm too old by this point. I'm nearly 18. So I think I'm just a bit too old for...
The turtle shell didn't fit quite as well as it used to.
No, it really didn't. No. I was like, no, I can't quite fit into it anymore.
It's like a full-grown adult with a bowler hat on his back. It didn't have the same effect.
No, it was too tight. So, no, I never really watched them at this point. I think they were just a bit too late for me. So
Same difference. The only thing that always baffled me was the whole Ninja Turtles versus Hero Turtles. And this was a peculiarity to the UK initially. And I found an interesting website about it. I won't go on about it here, but go and read it. It's called From Banned Nunchucks to Sausage Links, Why the UK Hated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And from Den of Geek. It's short, but it's pretty interesting. And the main footnote was that obviously this was on the back of a whole series of things that would happen through the 80s in the UK around the idea of children being exposed to violence and in whatever form that may take. And then there was a series of things that happened in terms that certain films got banned, and then certain, not toys, but certain weapons it made me laugh that there was like a period where they banned certain weapons. So they banned knuckle dusters, shuriken stars. And you're thinking that they probably should have been banned, really. It's like,
why weren't they?
Not generally a good idea to have kids buying shuriken stars, just call me old fashioned. But that said, they banned all that thing, and then it went down that road that we always go down, where it goes too far. So taking weapons off the streets and knives, always a good thing to do. No, absolutely no question about that. That's a very important thing. But banning the word ninja, and then they became obsessed with taking ninjas out, which surprised me when you think about all the Ninja Assassin and all the Assassin books, and
American Ninja and stuff and things like that.
But they became obsessed with this being for kids, and it was about we've got to protect the kids. So they changed the word ninja to Hero Turtles, which meant changing the theme tune, which meant changing the context of the cartoon, which meant changing Donatello's weaponry, because he had nunchucks and you weren't allowed to have nunchucks. So in that essence, then they changed what the animation was, and they cut him out of certain things. And so it just changed the nature of it. And then after all that crazy banning, they released the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles film, to which everyone in the UK and across Belgium and other areas where they changed it for Hero Turtles probably went,
Yeah.
Makes no sense. And I never liked it anyway. So, talking turtles, pizza eating turtles. Nah, not for me. This is up there with Samurai Pizza Cats. Nah, thanks. You can keep that. Keep it to yourself. It's okay.
Not for me, dude. 4th of January, One Foot in the Grave.
Don't believe it.
Believe it. To say
that's as much as I know about it.
It's Victor Melder in it. It's basic. I can't. Richard, what's his face? I can't remember his name.
What is his name?
I literally cannot remember his name. It'll come to me when I look at the Wikipedia page. Probably
you have to.
Richard
Wikipedia
Wilson.
And have a look.
So it's Richard Wilson. This is a classic sort of British sitcom. Ran for 10 years, 1990 to 2000. Had a big old catchphrase, I don't believe it. Bad things happen to him. Strange stuff would happen. There's the classic one is he pick up the cat as a phone and gets all startled by it and things like that. It's just an old person who can't, bad things happen to. But that's always comedy gold in the UK. I never particularly liked it. Well, I wasn't the market, shall we say. I was not the market for this. But a lot of people did like it. It was crazy popular.
My dad loved it. He loved it. But then it's one of those shows where it's a succession of unfortunate events that lead on to unfortunate events. It's the chain of events thing, isn't it? And the knock-on effect of doing something. He would hammer a pen. He'd be putting pictures up, and then in order to put the pictures up, he would need nails, and he would get a nail and hammer it through, and it'd pop something on his neighbour's thing, and it's just stuff like that. A series of unfortunate events, similar to the TV show Chance in a Million that we talked about a million years ago. But that was about Tom Chance, who really strange occurrences just happened around him. He just was very either lucky or peculiar things happened. It's that kind of idea, but they stretched it out for a while, didn't they? Blimey, 10 years. Quite.
Yeah, you always know as well. It became like a flagship BBC Christmas production. It was always a Christmas one, wasn't there? There was always
Christmas special.
One.
It is considered a classic. And the bits I've seen every night, it's chuckle-worthy TV, maybe, the bits I saw, but I've never sat and watched an entire series of episodes or anything of it.
I always put it in the same bracket as the Hyacinth Bouquet one.
It's keeping up appearances. Yeah, same sort of thing.
Same sort of thing. 6th of January is Waterfront Beat, a BBC television police procedural drama series. The series follows the work of a group of police detectives stationed in the Liverpool docks.
Of course they are.
Waterfront Beat, made by Phil Redmond, who did Brookside and Grange Hill and stuff. It was BBC's first attempt to rival The Bill, following a similar weekly format. Clearly didn't work.
No, absolutely didn't. But here's a challenge for you. in your best Liverpudlian accent, say,
No.
you're under arrest.
No, I'm not doing
Go
it.
on, try it. Go on.
No,
Go on.
I can't. No, I can't. I'm trying. I can't do it.
Call yourself a Liverpool fan and you can't even do that.
I do, and that's why I wouldn't insult them with my attempt at their accent.
Not an insult. You find it funny. Well, maybe, yeah. But no, I'd never heard of it. It must have come and gone, that one. Waterfront Beat. Sounds like the sort of thing Phil Redmond would get into.
Yeah. What didn't come and go, though, on 6th of January was Baywatch. Baywatch started.
Here we go, Baywatch. Of course it
I've just
did.
written, stupid show is stupid, but boobs.
Many boobs, many boobs. No, I did some analysis, Adrian. I took time to do this because I thought it was important.
Very, very important analysis that took me a long time.
You put a link in our show notes to the season 1 intro.
I did,
and I watched the season 1 intro. It's pretty much exactly 2 minutes. And I watched that intro and I was like, wow, okay, it surprised me. It wasn't the Baywatch music I remembered. And it featured a lot more, manly men doing manly men running and stuff like that. And I remembered it being a lot more booby. So I was like, well, did I remember it wrong? Is this? So I thought I'd check it. So I thought, well, let's check into that season 1. Let's see what season 2's intro was like. Season 2's intro was slightly more like you remember it. It's got the Baywatch music, all that. I was like, okay. And season 1 had 5 shots of boobies/bikinis/ semi-clad naked women's bodies in it. 5 shots in edited succession, but 5. Season 2, the intro sequence, this is in 2 minutes, remember, had 10 shots. Season 3, version 1, because there's 2 versions of the intro there, had 13 shots of the same boobs and bikinis and bodies in the same 2 minutes. Season 3, version 2, 15 shots.
Good Lord.
Of scantily clad Pamela Anderson and Nicole Egger and all the others running along and jumping and diving and all the rest of it. And I didn't go into the season 3, version 3, if there was one, or season 4, season 5, because somebody's done that, and I'll find the link and put it in YouTube, where somebody has compared every single intro of every Baywatch, put them all back to back, so you can count the boobies. There's a lot of them in there if you want to do that kind of thing. I guess they found out what made that show popular. What they figured, it wasn't burly men running on the beach.
It wasn't
Something
David
tells me-
Hasselhoff.
He's in every single opening sequence, but he rapidly becomes not the main thing. Let me tell you, after season 1, it kind of goes downhill for him.
Well, it got harder and harder for him to suck his stomach in while running.
Well, they use the season 1 intro footage of him is the footage they always use. Apart from it changes to him being on a boat looking kind of mean, and the footage of Billy Warlock changes for him looking kind of
Billy
camp.
Baywatch.
Billy
Baywatch.
Baywatch. It looks kind of camp to looking, to him trying to tough it out and punch in a punch bag. And after that, it's just a succession of all the various bikini models that were in it.
Erika Leniak, Carmen Electra.
Yeah, well, she's not in. She comes much later, but it's mainly season 3. Obviously, that's where they discover Pamela Anderson, and by season 3, that's why they made a version 2 of the credits. I'm telling you,
and added 2 more shots in.
They did
that take 30 seconds.
Those 2 other shots were Pamela Anderson.
There you go. They knew what the boys wanted.
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And it was made famous, wasn't it, on Friends as well? I mean, they were always watching it on Friends.
Yeah, Friends made it famous. Yeah,
when they're running. They're always the running.
They're just running.
Running. 8th of January from Baywatch, you could have gone to watch Nelly the Elephant.
Yeah.
I'm not going to. Who cares?
No.
9th of January, The Secret Cabaret. This is a weird thing. It's some kind of weird magic show. Do you remember it? I don't really remember.
Vaguely. It was all right. It reminds me of the kind of Derren Brown type act.
Yeah, very much. Yeah, the one I sort of watched.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. Those kind of things are always impressive and interesting to watch. I remember it vaguely, but I think I'm mixing it with Derren Brown stuff. So
yeah, maybe because it was praised for giving a new and shocking twist to the presentation of illusions. There we go.
Yeah.
The one I've linked to, their sort of thing looked like some strange dream sequence from a bad film.
Yeah, it's all got a bit weird, hasn't it, for that kind of thing? But
yeah,
this is Channel 4, Joe, and it's this is when they start to push the boat out with that experimental TV again. So this is interesting enough. I remember it vaguely remember it.
Carrying on, 10th of January, oranges are not the only fruit. This was a controversial piece when it came out. I seem to remember.
It was indeed, yeah, it was a bit, yeah.
Deals with lesbianism. Can't have that in a Christian society. What's that all about?
No, yeah, it sounds very complicated. It's Pentecostal evangelists.
Yeah, did win the BAFTA award for best drama series.
Yeah, I imagine it's very good. I just Pentecostal evangelists sounds like Warhammer characters to me. So.
They do.
I'm not messing around. That's no disrespect. I love Warhammer.
Are you a Space Marine?
In Accrington.
13th of January, Yellow Thread Street. Another television police drama. This focuses on a group of detectives in the Royal Hong Kong Police.
Of course it does.
It ran until April.
Yeah.
That's that. 21st of January, Tarrant on TV. So this is when Tarrant took over. This was basically called on TV because it started in 1982 with Clive James doing it.
It did, yeah.
And it's essentially what this is a long-running late-night television program on ITV. The program featured a number of clips from unusual or often unintentionally amusing television programs and commercials from around the world.
It did.
It's basically like, aren't those foreigners a bit funny and weird?
Yeah, look at the quirky foreign TV in that. Yeah,
oh,
exactly
look at them. They're doing weird things. Look, he's eating a snail, and people would laugh. And then this is when it came back because Chris Tarrant took it over. It was presented by Keith Floyd for a while in 1989. Yeah, very strange. He's probably drunk during it, so who knows?
Definitely.
But it's just one of those shows where it's just, laugh at the weird TV or strange TV that was at the time from other parts of the world. 27th of January, Haggard is what the presenters on the Commonwealth Games look like. Don't know what this was. It's a crap. Sounds like a ship Blackadder.
Yeah, ITV ship Blackadder.
Yeah.
Totally
The series is set during 1777. The Georgian area was about the exploits of Squire Haggard, the Squire's 25-year-old son Roderick, and their servant Grunge.
Yeah, I would be watching that. I'd be watching Blackadder.
Yeah, it starred Keith Barron. I turned off at that point.
No, exactly. No.
For those who don't know who Keith Barron is, count yourself lucky.
Was he duty free? Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not watching the Baron. Didn't he end up in a soap opera as well? I think one of the soaps. So get away, Baron.
Everyone did. Back
off, Baron.
Yeah, you're a madman. Oh, that's it. That's it for TV.
God, what a dreary load of shite that was. Right?
Yeah,
okay.
It's January. That's what it is. In the world of film, 5th of January, you could have gone seen The Last Exit to Brooklyn.
Never seen it.
I've seen the box. I've seen the case any time in the video shop.
Yeah, I've seen it. That's true. I've seen the box. Yeah.
Never am I going to watch that film. Then there was Mystic Pizza.
Never watched it. I've seen the video box though.
Yeah, this was.
We're strolling down the shelves that nobody wanted here.
Absolutely.
It's got the Isle of Shite. This is what down the Isle of Shite.
12th of January, Parenthood.
Oh, no.
This is when Steve Martin had moved into his sort of middle of the road
Father of the
period.
Bride, Parenthood, rubbish.
It still do thing at this point. What's the one? Cyrano de Bergerac one?
Yeah, he did that.
Roxanne?
Yeah.
Did Roxanne?
Roxanne, yeah.
So he'll do that. And just an LA story as well. So, but he's in that period where he would move into things like Sergeant Bilko and his version of Pink Panther.
Don't even talk about that.
I won't, but it was there.
No. Parenthood, crap, dreary family comedy drama, which was always crap. Tom Coulson, I think, as well, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. I
long lost druggy son. I don't know, rubbish.
I went to. I think he's in it as well. Keanu Reeves, I think.
Yeah, famously though, the trailer for it pitched it as like a madcap family comedy, a la National Lampoon's Vacation.
Guess
and
who
it was
fell
far
for
from
that
it.
and went to the cinema.
Yeah, I thought you might.
I did. I liked.
You were drunk with power.
I was still hoping that Steve Martin would recover some of his, Man with Two Brains, The Jerk, Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid, all that kind of stuff. But those things were long. Just a memory. You could have gone and seen Ladder of Swords on 12th of January.
Never heard of it, and the image looked like Martin Shaw had just woken up.
Which you probably had. If you didn't fancy that, another comedy, you could have watched Turner and Hooch.
Aye, Tom Hanks, innit?
Yeah, Tom Hanks and Big Dog.
Yeah, it's a Bew Dog film, isn't it? Yeah, a buddy dog movie, a Bew Dog. I'd never liked any of them, none of them.
Turner and Hooch, K9, there's loads of them. Yeah. It's just, what can we partner him with? Which, like I said, was always the great piss take in Last Action Hero. Hey, who's with the cartoon cat?
But it's not my cup of tea. Kids movie, really, predominantly in it, that one.
And then you could have watched In Country.
Yeah, I've never seen it. I never will.
No, it's Bruce Willis film, isn't it? Is it a Vietnam vet one? I don't know.
Yes, it is that one, actually. Yes, it is. Yeah. It's the Appalachian one, isn't it? So there'll be dodgy accents abound.
Yeah, and he's got a mustache.
Bruce Willis doing Appalachian accents, and no.
19th of January, you could have watched Jesus of Montreal.
No.
Again, I remember at the time this was getting a lot of talk around sort of people who like to use lots of big words about it being very worthy and stuff, but it was always like, no, not for me.
No.
26th of January, I went to the cinema to see this. You could have gone to see Black Rain.
Yeah, no, dreary. Just dreary.
It's it sounds quite interesting, doesn't it? It's like Michael Douglas and Andy Garcia has got a member of some...
The Yakuzas, in it?
The Yakuza stuff
Japanese
back to Tokyo, I think, and then the Yakuza get involved and someone gets their head cut off very slowly in a bike pit. And then, but the hair is massive. Michael Douglas's hair in this film, he's gone full on Lethal Weapon.
Yes, Gibson, Lethal Weapon is stupid. I mean, I've just, no.
No, as you've rightly written, he's so much style in this, he forgot about the substance, Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
That's an apt description.
Tedious and massive hair. They're not the reviews he wanted.
No, it's not. If you didn't fancy that, you should have really gone and seen Casualties of War. That's what I should have gone and seen.
Do you know, I don't think I've ever seen it. And that's just an omission. You know, I'm working my way through a load of war movies at the moment, so I no doubt come across it, but yeah.
It's very much, it's good. It lacks a bit of subtlety. And the fact of because essentially what it is Sean Penn and Michael Fox is commanding officer, and they kidnap this female villager and then do unspeakable things, and then Michael J. Fox won't have any part of it, but the team turn against him, and then there's a lot of shots in rain, I seem to remember. But I think it just lacks a little bit of it's a bit one note. But it's all right. It's all right. It's better. It's good De Palma rather than bad De Palma.
Yeah.
But it's been a while since I watched it, but I do remember thinking it was all right. And then something I've never heard of, Yabba.
Yabba. Is it love with me? Yabba.
I'm not knocking the film or anything. I've just never heard of it.
Never heard of it. No, didn't come to my cinema, that one.
No, certainly didn't. And there you go. That's it. That's a really boring month of telly and films.
Dry January.
Yeah. God.
But then it wasn't the booze, it was the TV.
Yeah, you'd have nothing to do. It'd be crap weather. You'd be back at school. You'd bottom your trousers would be soaking every day. It's just rubbish. What a rubbish month.
You could come back and watch a good episode of Haggard. No.
Keith Barron's always watchable. No more Bob's Full House to keep you amused. Terrible month. Let's move along. Let's leave that. No more January. Let's get on. We've got 3 more games still to come, and we'll get to them after this short break. And here we go. Last part for January 1990. Kick off the decade. 3 more games still to get through. And Graham, you're up first. Is this Hero Warriors? No, it's Ninja Warriors.
You're not allowed to say the word ninja.
Just beep it out in post.
I might, for joke. So this was £9.99 full price. It scored 79%. Okay. Publisher is Virgin Mastertronic. The developer was Random Access. The coder was Warren Mills. No relation, of course. He did Silkworm. Graphics are by Ned Langman. He did Hades Nebula. And Robert Whittaker, who did Street Cred Boxing.
We did say some of the visuals in that were okay.
Yeah, the punch bag bit. And then not the yellow-trousered gang.
No, not them bits.
No, not them. And then the musician here is Tony Williams. He did the music for Droids and for Bob's Full House, the C64 game. So we know it's coming at some point.
Oh, yeah.
Great.
It's not gone. It's not gone.
Anyway, guess what? So Ninja Warriors is a side-scrolling beat-em-up video game developed and released by Potato. Yes, it's an arcade conversion in 1987. Now, the original arcade game situated one display. Now, by the way, this hurt my brain trying to visualize this. So, the original arcade game situated one display in between projected images of 2 other displays, creating the appearance of a triple wide screen. Triple wide. Triple wide.
Calibos sits there shaking his head. No.
Yes. It's the dream game of Calibos here. So,
triple screen.
In Japan, Game Machine listed the Ninja Warriors on the April the 1st, 1988 issue as being the 3rd most successful upright arcade unit of the month. And then it went on, believe it or not, to become Japan's 8th highest grossing dedicated arcade game of 1988. So got a pretty popular sort of thing going on, really, don't there?
Triple screen.
Anyway, the ports were released for home systems, including the Amiga, Atari ST, ZX Spectrum, Commodore 64, Amstrad CPC, PC Engine, and Sega Mega CD. Not the Mega Drive. Anyway, I'm going to read the instructions because they descend into chaos and crazy, and I think we have to go through that. And I just have to because it made me laugh a lot. So, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, bear in mind that the nature of this game is a side-scrolling beat-up. So just remember, in the back of your mind, have that in the back of your mind, remember.
It's there.
Many years ago, the young Bangler...
Is that his name or is that his profession?
...embarked on a political career. A good-natured and mild-mannered fellow, he quickly gained the support of electors and was voted into office. Within a few months, Bangler realised that he liked power and set his heart to obtaining it at any cost. Gradually, Gradually, his motivations, like his methods, changed for the worse. The idealistic young would-be politician slowly turned into a power-crazed monster. Harnessing the power of corrupt individuals with the police force and army, Bangler's rise was meteoric. Bangler, stop saying Bangler. Bangler rose steadily through the ranks of local government.
I'll get you, Bangler.
And eventually won a seat on the world government. The world government?
The world government?
There's a world government now.
Bangler.
His final alliance with the International Criminal Fraternity tipped the scales in his favour. Bangler finally succeeded in becoming president of the world. Does that mean you blow up half the world?
Bangler.
President of the world? Is that even a thing?
President Bangler.
The next section is called Revolutionary Fervour. Okay, now I'm going to say, right, prepare yourself, because I think as the guy was writing this, the person, sorry, let's not assume, as the person was writing this, they descend into crazy. All right, I'm just telling you now, because believe me, you'll know it. Anyway, so Revolutionary Fervour. Democracy rapidly crumbled. Once Bangler seized control of the planet, he was hardly likely to run the risk of standing in another election, now that he had schemed his way to the top. A few idealistic fellows continue to argue the merits of free elections and true representation of the people, but one by one they disappeared in mysterious but always bloody circumstances. Now Bangler's corrupt policemen and soldiers patrol the streets of every town and city on the globe, snuffing out the spark of dissent before the flames of revolution can catch. Very poetic. The cause of good is not totally lost, however. A research scientist by the name of Mulk.
Mulk and Bangler. It sounds like the worst buddy cop movie ever.
Mulk still controls a vast underground laboratory set up by a previous world government to research into robotics.
What? What is this?
Wait. It gets better. Mulk and his staff are inspired by revolutionary fervour. Well, Bangler did cut off their research grant the moment he took power, remember?
Oh, bloody
that's actually written in there. And they have decided that it is time to rid the world of the big bad guy. In the image of man...
Big bad Bangler.
In the image of man, Mulk and his mates have created 2 assassination machines. Not from clay, but from the finest molybdenoed titanium.
What? What is this?
These robotic ninjas are the ultimate in programmable killing kit. The ultimate in killing kits, anyway. I'm reading this verbatim. Mulk's team of scientists doesn't include programmers. So the ninjas have to be controlled manually from a console that links into their servo systems via a high-band microwave link.
Wow.
I told you he starts to lose the plot. Mulk has sent his robo-killers onto the surface, and they're on a mission to rid the planet of its evil ruler. The long road to Bangler's fortified mansion awaits. So the next section starts to really lose the plot. And it's called the Bangler Dash.
Isn't that a place? Bangladesh.
Yeah, this is the Bangler Dash. It's very similar to your Bangladesh in many ways. So Mulk has delegated the task of controlling his ninja killers to you. Sitting in front of the control console, your first task is to get the hang of ninja operation. RTFM, as they say in the trade. Done that? Right. Let battle commence. 5 zones have to be penetrated on the journey to Bangler's hideout. Armed only with flesh-rending knives and a supply of magic combating shuriken stars, the 2 robotic killers had to be controlled with a fine degree of precision if the mission to murder Bangler is to succeed. Bangler's henchmen are dotted throughout all 6 levels. Dodge and kill Bangler's ruthless troops who are armed with knives, guns and grenades, and watch out for the killer dogs from the Barkey Brigade.
Oh God, what is this shit? Who wrote this?
Just when things are going well, Bangler's magicians are likely to transport a seriously hard opponent into your part of the world. The magicians have some serious surprises in store, including the hunchback ground sniper.
There's always the hunchback ground sniper.
Ninja sword lady, iron arm, fire breather, sniper bats.
Sniper bats.
And 3 SVOs. That's laser firing droids to you and me, and a giant tank. The hunchback ground snipers. Conflict commences in a slum zone where death stalks the streets. Then the combat moves onto the military base. At night, as night falls, the route to Bangler's lair takes our robo-heroes onto the mean city streets. Then it's onto the final stages. In order to penetrate the high security of Bangler's mansion, the dynamic duo need to tarry a while in the sewers before facing up to the evil fat one himself. It gets weirder from here on in, honestly. Sharp reflexes, a will to win, and an uninterruptible high-band microwave link are the keys to success.
Or the Spanish Inquisition.
That's so true about many things. Mulk has provided the robo ninjas and the control equipment. Can you provide the rest?
I don't know.
Now, this is really gets really wild here. It says packaging notation. Seriously bad geezer in town. I don't know what this really means. And it just says, in 1993, to be an individual is to be dead. The totally evil master geek, politician Bangler, has serious power going down in town. All the fuzz and squaddies are his butt. So is the underworld. You are Mulk, pal. And as the totally wicked revolutionary for the read only, you are going to build 2 assassination machines, the Ninja Warriors, and attempt to chill out this Bangler guy with knives, shurikens, and some bad posse hip movement. 6 levels, mush, of non-stop furious 2-player oriental upbeat action. Mental, eh? That's honest to God what's in there. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
I thought I was going to win with Double Dragon 2, but I don't think I am now.
It's absolutely wild. Goodness me. Anyway, I can assure you that all of the content that's ably described there doesn't feature in this. I'm sad to say you're not going to come across many hunchback snipers or anything like that here. So the game then on the C64, after all that crazy. So to add to the ever-expanding list of side-scrolling beat-em-ups on the C64, here comes the latest one. Surprise, surprise, it inherits all the usual issues, but predominantly mediocrity. The title screen of the game will welcome you. Lots of text and an okay rendition of the arcade music, I suppose. You'll start the game, level 1 will load in, and you will see a medium res-like city background akin to every side-scrolling beat-em-up there's ever been. Actually looked alarmingly like Vigilante, if you ask me. In fact, strikingly like it. Giant car in the garage, etc., etc., etc.
Oh, yeah.
You control your ninja with the joystick, obviously via microwave link. Left, right is walk left and right. There's a heroic leap you can do, which makes him leap really far. It's like a power leap.
Faster than the scroll can cope with.
Faster than the scroll and faster than running. You've got a fire button that uses your ninja stars, and so you know the drill by now. You walk left and right. Enemies will walk on from either side of the screen, and you try and get you. Some fight, some fire guns, some are more elaborate. And jump about. It's Kung Fu Master all over again. That's just basically that. Not a very good version of that again. So think that and you're not far off. Mm-hmm. The graphics for the backgrounds vary a lot. There's some that are okay, and I'm saying okay being kind, but there's some that are okay, but most aren't. There's at least an attempt to add some details on things, which I did like. So torn posters on the walls, cracked windows in the window frames. Little details like that do make the background have a little bit more scene, a bit more life. It's not just big slabs of colour. And okay, credit where credit's due, I'll give it that. There's pavement details, objects, skylines, that kind of thing. But though it's all in medium res, there's some attempts at shading and to give it atmosphere. Credit for you for trying to do that. And what's there is far from fabulous, but I suppose it provides an adequate backdrop. Your player looks a bit more motor mechanic, I thought, than Ninja.
He does a bit.
I mean, he does seem to move in a kind of ninja-like way. I guess he kind of sort of scuttles and I don't know. There's a really funny bit where you can walk and crawl at the same time. Well, he squats down, then he kind of shuffles forward like a dog with worms. It's a bit weird, but you can do that if you want. I know I spent more time doing that, probably for the wrong reasons, really. But anyway, so he walks like a ninja, I guess, and you can perform leaps and jumps and fight.
Things like a bee.
Yeah, he does think like a bee, rough like a ninja. Yeah. The sprites, the animations, again, very medium res, with some of the enemies just kind of being a different version of your sprite in a different colour. Reminded me of Ninja, the old game Ninja, that.
Yeah.
Had that kind of vibe about it. They move fairly quickly, but there's very limited fight moves such as they are, and they don't really have much of an impact on you, and you'll quickly get overwhelmed and work through your lives in the game. There's not much to it. And again, that's kind of it. The UI is text on the screen, though it's not much. It's similar. The arcade's got sort of a very basic appeal in the arcade kind of vibe. And it is an arcade conversion from seemingly another obscure-ish arcade. It's not one I'd come across knowingly Ninja Warrior anywhere.
No.
It is in that kind of side, we've seen so many of them, Rolling Thunder type idea, that side scrolling, not as good as that, but that kind of, no, we've seen loads of them. So I guess what you can say about this really is it's dull and playable, maybe, but this is just, another classic case of boring begets boring. I like some side scrolling beat-ups with the best of them, but this is just one of those. It never gets very exciting. It's not very interesting. I looked at the arcade. That was particularly boring and pedestrian. There's nothing really exciting about them. And there's loads of the better ones that start to really appear. We're not that far away from Final Fight and all the others. And, this is just not a very good version of any of these. I suppose we can at least be thankful for one thing, and that's that we didn't have an Amstrad or a Spectrum, because their versions are horrific in ways that I can't explain, especially the Amstrad one.
Jesus.
The Amstrad one is an abomination. It's like, that made me feel sorry for Amstrad owners. It's very rare that happens, but I felt sorry for them. I felt like casting demons out of that thing. The skin was so bright pink.
I was like that bit in, what's it, Signed? The bit where Joaquin Phoenix sees the alien, sort of backs away from the telly. He's like, hey!
As soon as I did that, I thought, I better put tinfoil hat on as well, just in case. So this game should have scored, what did it get? It got 79%. No way. This is a 50s.
15% worse than Retrograde.
Yeah, no, it's nice. It's not. No. This is 50s all the way. It's a very average game anyway, and this isn't a very good conversion. It's not terrible. It's average all the way. Boring begets boring. This is a perfect example of that. Maybe some redeeming features for some background details, which were okay, but everything else, boring. And it's just that this game is boring. And I think the problem is, without the big graphics and sprites of a Final Fight and all the Capcom, you don't need a lot of arcade razzmatazz, but you just got to have all the pixel art and the characters to make these games what they are. They become what they are later. These early versions, they're just kind of, they're not there yet. And this C64 version, it's a dull version, one of them. So dull begets dull begets dull. Not my cup of tea, this. And I do like these kind of games, but not this one. What about you?
Yeah, stop getting Kung Fu Master wrong.
Just don't know why they do it. Don't know why they keep doing it.
But I actually played the arcade. It's stuck MAME on. I've got it on MAME, so I tried it on there. It's actually more like a very flat and very wide version of Green Beret. But the thing is, as well, is it's so one note. You just walk to the right and swing and swipe. Yeah. There's nothing else to this. Nothing. No. It's weird. I guess it was novel in the arcade because of its super wide display. And I kind of guess that's what they've tried to replicate here, haven't they? Because it takes place in the middle of the screen. But it doesn't look wide. It just looks like you haven't got much room. You put it onto the home computer, all you're left with is a blocky, boring Kung Fu Master Green Beret wannabe, and that's 5 years later. Issue 16, we looked at Green Beret, and God knows when it was we looked at Kung Fu Master. They're ages old, and much better. Just levels and stuff. It's boring. There's some okay animation, I guess. It's kind of reminiscent of the arcade game, and all the constituent bits are there. Because having played it, I could, that's them or that. Oh, that's that bit. All right. But the arcade, as you've rightly said, was boring. Boring. Very little in the way of lasting appeal beyond those visual aspects. When you strip them away, I've said it time and time again, walking right and stabbing people constantly, very, very boring and tiresome. Another incredibly pointless port. Just anything is, what's that? What's that you got over there? Ninja Warriors, we'll have it. Port it. Get some men on it. Get some people on it.
It's got ninjas
get
on
that
it.
Ported. Get that ported and we'll get it out there. People buy it. £10. Tell the magazines if they don't give it at least a sort of positive, plus 75%, we're going to withhold advertising and so on and so forth. Rubbish. I didn't like this at all. I think you've been a bit generous. I would have put this in the 30s, 40s. I think it's rubbish.
Yeah, no, I'm happy. I'd happily concede to that. No problem whatsoever. I'm not saying it. I'm just saying it is nowhere near the score they gave it.
No, nowhere near. No, not in cat and else chance. There's Hero Warriors. Let's move along quickly. To another arcade port. This part is all arcade ports. We're in arcade. We're down the arcades here. Not the good arcade, but the shit arcade. This is Double Dragon 2 at £9.99. Well, this got 72%. Okay. Another arcade conversion drifts through our transom. And this is another one that I'm not sure I was ever really aware of. Didn't even know there's a Double Dragon 2. Rings no bells for me. I was like, no Double Dragon, but no, Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, it's give it its full title.
Okay.
I think this is a period that seen me checked out of games quite heavily. So even these arcade titles are all new to me. I think by the late 80s, we just weren't really doing much with games.
You was doing other stuff, weren't you? You had loads of other hobbies.
Other loads of stuff. So also with the horror that was Double Dragon on the C64, I'm not sure what I was expecting here, but it got 72%. Generally positive reviews on Lemon, so I went in with an open mind to see how this one fared. This was originally released in North America and Japan in 1988 and 1989 in Europe. And in Japan, Game Machine listed Double Dragon 2 The Revenge on their April 1st, 1989 issue as being the 7th most successful table arcade unit of the month. 7th. So this C64 version was published by Virgin Mastertronic, developed by Binary Design. I was curious. Binary Design. What did they do? Do? They did ARG.
Oh, Lord.
They did Double Dragon. They did Droids. They did Grange Hill. They did Inspector Gadget.
Oh my gosh, Feud, wasn't it? They did Feud.
There's a cavalcade of quality.
Oh, God, Inspector Gadget, no, my Lord.
But none of them, to be fair, this was actually programmed with someone different. So Binary Design, I think, are just the developer. This was programmed,
the brand,
Yeah, this was programmed by Mike Hutchinson. He was not responsible for any of those games. He did Bomb Jack 2, which was okay. That was all right. But he will actually go on to do the C64 versions of Final Fight and Hard Driving.
Oh, okay.
Which are not supposed to be very good. But in the here and now, he's converted Double Dragon 2. He's got graphics by Rory Green. He's a bit of an elite veteran. He is. He's got graphics on Commando, Ikari Warriors, Bomb Jack, and Space Harrier. to his name. There you go.
Okay.
And music here is by Dave Lowe, who did the music for Power Drift. So there is some hope here. It's maybe better than the first game. So anyway, there is a story, and I don't know if I can follow the last one, but we'll try. This is the story for Double Dragon 2.
Okay.
There's 2 bits in this that made me laugh like a schoolgirl, but we'll get to them. Or a small boy. The story continues. Things didn't go too well after all. When the Black Warriors gang kidnapped Marion and sparked off the previous expedition onto the city streets, her sweetheart Billy Lee saved the day. With the help of his brother Jimmy, Billy managed to rescue Marion and dispose of the evil leader of the Black Warriors, a gun-toting villain by the name of Willie. At the end of Double Dragon 1, the city streets had been rendered a much safer place with the Black Warriors put permanently out of action, or so everyone thought. Billy and Jimmy didn't kill all the warriors. The solitary surviving members of the gang nursed herself back to health and spent several years studying ancient arts of healing. At the far fringes of the ancient medical science she studied, there is an area of what can only be called magic. Magic powerful enough to reincarnate the dead. Linda, for it was she, perfected her powers of Undhai, or magic medicine, to the point where she had the ability to raise mortal remains of the dead. She learned how to breathe life back into the human remains left behind by souls long departed from this planet. No prizes for guessing what Linda's main aim was, but first she practiced on the remains of a few dead yobbos, lowly members of the Black Warrior gang, to make sure she had the full mastery of the magic before concentrating on raising Willie himself.
Titter.
Before the Brothers Lee realised what was happening, the Black Warriors were up to the full strength once more and back in action. And it seems Linda's early experiments produced 1 or 2 mutated gang members. Driven by a powerful urge of revenge, sharpened by 5 years of being dead, Willie ordered his minions to kidnap Marion once more. Within days of his command being issued, the hapless girl found herself transported to Willie's secret base. Never a thug to make the same mistake twice, Willie immediately murdered Marion. Okay. And put her remains in a magic field conjured up by Linda, who achieved remarkably rapid promotion within the hierarchy of the Black Warriors as a result of her success in getting Willie up and about.
We're such children, honestly.
Who wrote this? Once again, the twins set out on a quest to rescue Marion, but this time their mission is likely to be even more complicated. Starting out on the city's heliport, Billy and Jimmy have to battle their way down a lift shaft, into and through a warehouse and out into the open countryside. Fighting their way up a cliff, they reach a hilltop where a door to Willie's secret base is hidden. Marion's body lies entombed in the centre of this hideout. To stand a chance of rescuing her and returning her soul to this world, the heroes have to kill Willie and then do battle with their own tortured souls. Only when the warriors and Willie have been defeated can the magic field that shields Marion's remains be penetrated. The Lees are twins, but they are also the 7th son of a 7th son. So they have magical powers bestowed on them as their Shinto birthright. Where did this come from? When they have defeated their own souls in combat, they will draw sufficient powers from the ether to enact a Shinto resurrection ceremony and restore Marion to life. With the warriors finally eradicated and Marion restored to the peak of her health, Billy, Jimmy and Marion will pass through a portal into another space-time continuum and hopefully live a long and peaceful life together.
What?
That I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where that went, but it went. What gibberish. Just gibberish. It's just nonsense. Anyway, it's another belt scroller, this, where you control Billy, or in 2 players, Billy and Jimmy, and you have to fight your way through hordes of enemies to rescue Marion. So when the game loads, we get a big logo and instructions to put the joystick into port 1 for a single-player game. Pressing in port 2 starts a 2-player game. That's good to see, I guess. We got both players on screen for this. If you move the joystick, you can flick to the high score table in the credits. The music playing is okay. I'm not sure if it's from the arcade, but it's not terrible. So it's an okay start. It's a decent start. Pressing fire, we get an interstitial stage of Marion being gunned down. In the arcade, it's much more brutal where it's animated. They just drive up and just shoot Marion dead. Like, good Lord, that's a violent beginning.
Harsh.
It is. And we are told that Billy and Jimmy are pursuing the killers of Billy's girlfriend, and then we're into the first level. Now, the first thing that greets us is the horrific sound of a garage door opening, which is a bit harsh on the ears. It's just this noise It's just horrible. Then our hero or heroes appear. So immediately, this actually looks better than the horror of the first one. For one thing, their torso and legs are connected. That's always a good sign, like unlike what they were in the first one. And it's all in medium res, unlike that sort of horrible high res overlay they used in the first one. But it may look bland and blocky, but having tested the arcade version as well, I can actually say that this is a decent C64 rendition of that arcade game. Okay, that arcade game looks exactly like this. Same amount of enemies on screen, same amount of stuff, same kind of boring backgrounds, and therein lies the problem. We're immediately beset by two enemies. Now here they're dressed in pale denim and sporting hair that is reminiscent of Campbell's meatballs. A massive hair. The hair is thick and luxuriant, but they need to be beaten up, so let's get to it. It's just massive. They've just had we've got to fill that sprite up. Just fill it with brown. Brown. Just make a massive hair. So controls are 8-way movement in that 3D environment style without the fire button pressed. With the fire button pressed, up will do jumps, either straight up or forward. Fire and the way you are facing does a kick. Fire in the opposite direction does a back elbow. Pressing the fire button on its own does a punch. If you do down and fire, you do a whirlwind kick. And if you press towards and fire while it's in the air, if you're doing a jump, you will turn your jump into a jumping kick. These all work fairly well. It's fairly responsive, no problem with that. And as we beat up our first couple of enemies, we wander on. The first level is the top of a building, where we make our way to a nearby lift, down into Willie's factory. After the factory and a random bit of speech, it just sort of goes, that says something. We make our way into the city and countryside before embarking on the enemy base. Bane is facing off against final challenge, who I presume is Willie himself. Should you make it through that, then you're greeted with a photo of Billy, Jimmy, and Marion. Some speech that goes, the end. It's really weird. It's a strange game, all told. But as a conversion, it's not bad. As you know, if you look at it through a C64 lens, it contains all the levels, most of the enemies of the arcade game, with bosses at the end of the levels. It's got the sort of pickups and weapons you can pick up. So there's the kind of what are they called, sort of maces that the women drop. There's barrels and stuff. There's knives get thrown. You can pick them up and use them on them. So all that's there. Everything from the arcade is here. You know, the loading's not too bad. The main issue, like you said with Ninja Warriors, lies with the arcade original, because I played that as well for this review and found it to be utterly boring and rubbish.
Yep.
It starts off with a woman being gunned down, which is unpleasant. I don't think it's a great way for something to start. And it's in a damsel in distress. It's just a dead woman, whatever. Yep. The levels are really boring in the arcade. Gone are all, you think of Double Dragon and Final Fight and Streets of Rage and all that character and stuff like that. It's just dead dull. It's like what can we do? I don't know. Just do that. It's boring. Double Dragon, we'll get by the name. So, and the action is static and lifeless. It's just dull. Eventually, they've done a really decent job of porting a boring game to the system, and obviously there's the issue. Like you said with Ninja Warriors, we've seen this from many other ports. Yep. When you're porting a dull product, you get a dull port. Dull in, dull out. And that's what you have here. Technically, it is better than the first, I'll say that, but the game is boringly dull. So that's what we have here. Accomplished boredom. Not a lot else I can really say about it. You just fight through boring levels, boring fighting with not much boring. It's just dull. Double Dragon, dull. DDD. What did you think?
Same. I mean, it's the same. It's so depressing when it's just like this. There's nothing interesting here. The graphics are all weirdly squat, like you say. They've got meatball hairdos, the derivations of the same problem from the arcade. An arcade that I can't honestly say I've ever really spent any time with. This game featured dreary-looking graphics, drab backgrounds. It had that horrible speckled mud in it that I don't like in these games for ground.
Yeah,
where they just get the dot machine and go dot 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 dot. There you go, speckly mud. That'll do it. Throw in a few bits and bobs. The sprites look kind of lost in it. There's not many of them. It's just boring. And this is a problem of this arcade. Because it's just more of the same from Double Dragon. There's not a lot more about it. It's just a boring continuation. Yes, I'm sure it's got fans in the arcade. These games always tend to engender that. But it's just not a very good conversion to the C64. And it just feels like a poor compromise at best, with some really weird background art and some really odd, jaunty angles for things. So I didn't like it, but there's no surprise there. And what was its crazy score in Zap for this one?
72.
72? No, come on. These are average beget average, boring begets boring, dull begets dull. You're not doing anything exciting here. There's nothing exciting about it. It's just dreary. So no, this is another average one. It's the same problem Ninja Warriors has, from an arcade that nobody cared about, and a conversion nobody wanted, done by people that probably didn't give a shit anyway, as long as they got paid. So what does it matter? No, not very good. Certainly not worth 10 quid. Save your money and don't buy it, and go back in time and retroactively tell yourself that.
Yeah, very much so. There you go. Yep. Double Dragon, double dull.
Yeah, Double Dragon, yeah.
Double dull. There we go. Let's move on. We still have one more game, and I think that may be worth a discussion. and we'll get to that now. And Graham, it's the sequel. It's a sequel to Operation Wolf. It is, according to the cover, Op Thunderbolt. Tell us all about Op Thunderbolt.
Okay, so Operation Thunderbolt is from Ocean. This was £9.99 on the C64. And I think it scored 92%. Is it on the C64 or is it 97%? I can't make heads or tails from what you've written. But it's a gold medal anyway.
Sorry, it got 92% for the C64 version. The Amiga got 97%, hence it got a gold medal. But I think the C64 is a sizzler.
So the C64 is a sizzler at 92%. Right. So we'll explore the nuances of that shocking bunch of crazy in a moment or two.
Mm-hmm.
So as I said, this is from Ocean. This is copyright potato, okay, because of course it's another arcade conversion. Obviously, the sequel to Operation Wolf. The C64 was coded by, the final version was coded by Richard Palmer, John Megan, and Paul Hughes. The graphics are by Steve Thompson, Brian Flanagan, John Megan. Title screen, Steve Thompson. Music, Matthew Cannon. So the Ocean gang were pulled in to resolve the problem of this game. Let's just put it that way.
Mm-hmm.
So just talk a little bit about Operation Thunderbolt. It was a light gun shooter video game developed by Taito and released for the arcades in 1988. As the sequel to Operation Wolf, changes included two-player gameplay with two positional gun controllers mounted on the arcade cabinet and a new forward-scrolling pseudo-3D perspective combined with side-scrolling sections. So, fancy pants, scaly stuff. All good. The arcade game was a commercial success and one of the top 3 highest-grossing dedicated arcade games of 1989 in both Japan and the United States. Similar to what Operation Wolf was. People like these kind of gun games. They do.
Yeah, they do.
Versions were released for the Amiga, Commodore 64, and Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or SNES to you and me. The arcade exclusive sequel Operation 3 Wolf was released later, so who cares about that? Like I said, in Japan, Game Machine listed Operation Thunderbolt in its February 1st, 1989 issue as the second most successful upright arcade unit of the month. It became Japan's second highest grossing dedicated arcade game of 1999, as I say, below Chase HQ. Okay. So the way this plays out is in half of it is similar to Operation Wolf, and this is the arcade. Half of it is similar to Operation Wolf in the sense that it's a scrolling, targeted shooting game with a piece of hardware in the front of the arcade cabinet that would fire light gun pulses at the screen, and then that would be reflected, and then you would shoot off the side of the screen to replace your ammo and do that. And this was a 2-player version of the Operation Wolf. There was also sequences where you're going towards the screen in pseudo 3D, so traveling down a road on the back of a truck, for one of an example, and things are going to come towards you and you're going to shoot at them. And it's like, in the arcade, that's kind of fun to do that with your mates stood by your side. Okay, that's all good. It uses all sorts of fancy, I didn't go into the hardware, but it uses all sorts of fancy hardware to do the scaling of the sprites, and it's got a bit of razzmatazz. It's big. It's quite a big arcade, quite loud. So it's going to get attention, And it was the sequel to Operation Wolf, so it had a lot of the Operation Wolf mechanisms about it. So C64 version then. So just to give you the lowdown on what is potentially the shortest instructions of a game ever on the C64. It says, this is the instructions from the manual. Roy Adams is back. Get the laser sight or the bulletproof vest, but watch out for those air-to-ground missiles. Good luck in your mission. There you go. We enjoyed that. So there's your instructions. That's the honest to God instructions.
Okay.
There you go. There's a little bit more. It says, gameplay. The player equipped with submachine guns and rockets must shoot all the enemies who appear on screen. Remember, your energy and ammunition are limited, and these can only be replenished by picking up objects such as magazines and power bottles that appear on screen or are parachuted down in crates. There you go. Enjoy that. Right. So we've got a little bit to unpack with this because there's a saga related to this and there's some subterfuge related to this. Mm-hmm. And we'll sort of deal with it. So the first thing we're going to look at is let's just look at the game. So the game has a nice loading screen. I'll give it that. Okay. It has a nice bit of loading screen. It's probably one they had in the back somewhere, but it is nice. The title screen is jaunty. Nice screen, yeah. Decent music, very text heavy, but you can choose 1 or 2 player. That is in the C64 version, such as it is. But the question is, will you want to? Because note that many of the control options for the 2-player, and remember, the idea of this was that you were meant to be able to plug in different hardware combinations into the C64. So the 2 people could actually play it either via mouse, one on joystick, or one with a light gun maybe. And the idea of this package was that this was going to be bundled with the C64 that had some of this hardware. It's they'd had a lot of success with the Batman bundle for the C64. So they bundled a load of games with the C64 as a package. Sold a lot of C64s, sold a lot of Ocean product. Okay. So this one then was the idea that you could start to bundle bits of hardware. So I don't know if they put a light gun in with it, something like that probably. But the problem, number one, is that the C64 doesn't work like that when it comes to its hardware. So some combinations of hardware will not work together. And there's an extensive explanation in the instructions, not extensive, but an explanation in the instructions of what will work with what. And I'm not going to go through it all. And I suspect 2 joysticks probably work okay, but a joystick and a light gun, I don't know. A mouse and a joystick, who knows? But the reality of this was that one of the key things about it was the ability to be able to do multi-hardware things. And it simply, in the time frame they had to create this finished version, they didn't really have much time to fix any of that. So it just kind of functions as it functions, and just, like it a little bit. Mm-hmm. So you'll start the game, and I only played this in one player, but you'll start the game and all the nightmares begin from there. And this is where the game descends. Level 1 sees, then you've got to get through, I think there are 8 levels in total, I think. So you've got to get through 8 levels, and they alternate between, 3D, pseudo 3D, and side scroll. That's how it works. And I'll go through each level as I found it. Level 1 sees enemies walking kind of towards you as you shoot at them, while seemingly walking down the A46. In the background, various enemies, including helicopters, will try and stop your walk. Obviously, you'll shoot and throw grenades, bombs, whatever, in the classic tradition of Operation Wolf and these kind of things. Complications arise in how you deal with your targeting. This is key problem throughout this game, and a key identified problem, and I'll come to the article written by the guy that made this in a while as well. Obviously, you have a laser pointer type thing in the arcade, so you can see where you're going to shoot with a little red dot. Without this, you don't really know where you're shooting. It'd be impossible to know, so you just don't know. Unfortunately, in the C64 version, and this isn't really a fault of the developer, the insistence from Taito was that they kept the formatting to the same design of the arcade, because that's how you play Operation Thunderbolt. So in Operation Wolf, if you remember, you had a crosshairs on the screen which you could move around and target. You don't have the luxury of the crosshairs here. You don't have it. So the only way you know where you're shooting is by shooting, and little bullet sort of animations, I guess ricochet type marks, like things just appear on the screen in a kind of a put kind of notion, like dust trails, I guess.
Yeah.
So that's the only way you know where you're shooting in this game, by shooting. Remember, you're limited ammo in this game as well. You've got to find ammo and replenish it and stuff like that. So you can't really do anything but spray bullets around, because otherwise you don't know where you're shooting anyway. And yes, you can sort of get by. It's not a killer. It doesn't kill it, but it is a problem in a game that's principally devised around the idea of you being able to target things. This is, so it becomes kind of it's less about the carnival type shooting and precision. This is just about spraying bullets and not running out, and that changes the dynamic of the entire game massively. But we'll sort of, and it's the same in the other versions. So Taito insisted that because they during the development of this, in the lengthy 12 days that it was developed, they said to Taito, apparently, we need to put crosses in because nobody can see where they're shooting, and they were like, no, that's not how you play it. So you don't have that. All right, that's not good, is it? That's not a good thing.
That's not
a bad
good.
thing.
No, it's a bad thing.
Top of the screen is the 3D perspective roadway in all of its grey splendor at this point, with a dreary brown to red sky effect in the background, shaded with the pixel blending skills of an ape. Roadside details, some kind of telegraph poles and phone boxes, or portaloos maybe, fidget their way towards you in an attempt at 3D, while medium-res coloured splat soldiers run at you in a 3 or 4 glorious frame of fidgeting. They shoot at you, you shoot at them, all the way. Along the bottom is your UI, bullets, rockets, grenades, whatever, current energy and icons representing the splats you might have come across to help you, like bulletproof jackets or whatever. It also displays the player 2 UI, even though when I played it, I was single player, which really wound me up. Now, just have the decency to take that off if you got 1 player and 2 player.
Yeah.
Anyway, assuming that you make it past that, and by making, when I say make it past, just living long enough to make it to the end. Doesn't really seem to be any rhyme or reason. I don't know if you shoot a certain amount of enemies. No real indication of that. You just have to trundle along until it stops, okay? And stay alive long enough. Which is hard to do because, yes, they seem to be uncannily accurate. They run at you all the time in these bad frames animation. And because they jolt in animation, you can't target them properly, because by the time you've moved your put target to where they'd be, they've already moved 2 frames forward, so they're not where they were. So it's a bit hit and miss, to say the least. Anyway, assuming you get past that, mission 2 begins. More akin to the Operation Wolf style. Now you're scrolling right to left as enemies float across and shoot at you. And they do float really badly.
Yeah. They just float, sort of slide across. They're obviously on, they're obviously on like skates or something. You must shoot at them with the same absence of crosshair, which means you've got no way of targeting anything properly. You're just shooting around the screen. Backgrounds also scoot across. This time there's a grey cyan-like block of God only knows what in the background. Mountains, I guess. Some of the men will also be further back and walk across to shoot at you in a terrible scaling error. And there's also some mini helicopters. And I say mini at this point because the scaling of everything in this game is completely up the shitter. So assuming you slide along that for long enough, because you're just kind of sliding along. So I'm guessing you're on some kind of dolly.
You're back to the third mission, and it's the 3D road style play again. This time, the medium res trees and mountains in the background are now accompanied by a brown 3D angular perspective road. Yes, we're traveling down the brown road again, and that was never a road we wanted to be down, was it?
Never.
With palm trees-ish things fidgeting down the sides to give you that feeling of, movement and everything. Badly realized Jeep-like vehicles will fidget into view and take pot shots. You shoot back and keep doing that until you get to the end of that. Boring. I'm getting bored now. Very bored. Mm-hmm. Mission 4 is each time it starts a mission, it has a little text that sort of tries to make it exciting. Doesn't work. Mission 4 is a rescue mission time. Back to the right to left scrolling, floating enemies, and this time large and badly drawn huts with extensive topiary in the background. All plays out the same though, badly. Mission 5, meant to be on a boat, I think. You've got some kind of recycled trees to sort of in the distance on some kind of coast, I think. A blue road now fills the middle as it's a river with black turds floating in it. The bow of your vessel pokes out of the bottom while some kind of enemy boat thing menaces you. Enemies will also drop on you for no reason whatsoever. It's very difficult to drop a parachuter on a moving speedboat. I'm just saying. As will out-of-scale enemy helicopters, which either means you're sailing a cruise ship down the river or the helicopters are for tiny little clown people. Anyway, you'll survive that, I assume, and then you'll get to mission 6. This is the enemy base or headquarters. Move right to left, float and shoot nonsense, so it's more of that. Grey-like prison backgrounds with some people popping up in windows. Adds an extra dimension of rubbish to this level. Yep. As you scoop down that. Mission 7 is race down. So it's a race down some escape routes on the brown highway. This commitment to brown roads and massive out-of-scale white lines in the centre is impressive. They are enormous. They're like the biggest white lines you've ever seen on a road. It's ridiculous.
They had a copious amount of white paint. That's what they did. What are we going to do with this? Just paint some lines.
And then you get these stupid enemy vehicles, which all have the same terrible scaling problem. So they're all these aeroplanes, helicopters, all these kind of things, Jeeps, and they're all totally out of scale compared to what you're doing, which is the problem throughout the entire game. Everything is the wrong scale. Those people that jolt towards you, the soldiers, are either 9-foot-tall giants or you're a midget by the way that it scales. And it's all because of a key problem around time to make this game. So anyway, final level, on board the world's longest passenger plane, as you race down the centre aisle in a badly realised view of an interior of a passenger jet with out-of-scale seats that look more like church pews to your left and right, in brown, while terrorists shoot at you in the middle. When you do get to the end, you have a terrorist and a hostage floating left to right as you try and take out the hostage, which has an oddly familiar stink to it in that kind of level. Mm-hmm. See other ocean games where you end up with trying to shoot a terrorist from the arms of somebody.
You mean RoboCop and Untouchables?
Yeah. So, see other ocean games where they might have just gone, we've got a level for that. And also, I have to just say, I'm questioning the stereotypical image that they use for a terrorist at that particular instance. So, sorry, but I am not nice. So, mercifully, that's the game. That's it. All right?
Yep.
Graphics throughout this are rubbish. There's no other way around that. They're rubbish. And aligned to the hasty timelines of its creation. This piece of shit took 12 days to make and was a rescue attempt as the original development had been handed to someone originally that was unable to deliver it for whatever reason that may be. Maybe they didn't have the skills. Maybe they didn't have what they said they had. Who knows? But the job of the people hiring such people is generally to make sure they have the skills to deliver on what they say. And having a good eye for talent obviously is not necessarily the key ingredient to hiring the right people. I would suggest a robust interview process and skill-based assessment of their understanding of the very thing you want them to do. Without that, you're relying on the very goodwill of the rest of the people at Ocean who stepped up, I have to say. Now, I don't like what they've done here, and I'm going to separate the product because of the nature of what had to happen to make this product happen. So the people that did end up making this were all brought into an office, and this is all based off an article that I think you linked us to, which was written by one of the guys that made this. Mm-hmm. Okay, and it's a retrospective look at the problems that occurred with this particular game because they never looked at the reviews. And when this guy looked back over the reviews, he was horrified to say, hang on a minute, even I know that game was crap. So how on earth did it get a score like that? And I'll come to a little bit of the nuances around that in a moment. But so the story of this, to summarize the article, is that the head of Ocean, whatever his name was, I forget, I'm not going to start just name dropping people, but the person who was in charge of this project, this was all linked and tied into a big license deal that had to happen, or they were going to have a massive clawback of money and, pay potential fines. So this game had to be delivered one way or another. The original person that was delivering it, as I've said, couldn't do it. So there was an emergency meeting held. 3 of the guys, John Megan included, and the others, and the graphics guys were all brought in. We've got 12 days to turn this game around from now, where it's at, to a fully complete product that's going to be duplicated. We've got to have the duplicate master in wherever it was in 12 days, or at least that's the development timeline that's indicated in the article. 12 days to produce this, and it shows. This is what you get if you give good quality, kind-hearted developers who probably put in way more hours than are required at that time in those 12 days. So I suspect this was 12 long 20-hour days plus. You give them the challenge of pulling you out of the shit because this was an Ocean overpromise and an underdeliver in a massive way, and it nearly came back to bite them. So what they ended up doing is producing this game in that time frame and taking out all the things that would have made this a decent follow-up. In fact, they just jury-rigged bits of what they had in terms of other bits of code together, threw some graphics there very quickly and some other stuff to make it into kind of a quasi version of the game. Maybe some of the hardware might work together. We don't know. They didn't have much. They're clearly 12 days. You don't have time to test anything. This was pushed out of Ocean's door unfinished. This is not a finished product, really. This is an unfinished product. Now, around the edges, and before I go into the article, around the edges, the music and some of the sounds are actually okay. Some of the music in it's all right because that's Matthew Cannon. He can, and what I'm going to say is that the people who did produce the items that are in this game did the best they could. I don't doubt that in that time, knowing full well that this was crap and knowing full well that this was this was a fool's errand. But at the same time, they've got mortgages and families and livelihoods to think about. And so this is their bread and butter, So, I'm not taking anything away from those people who had to do what they had to do. But this is far, 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 far from the arcade and does that classic thing that you should never do. Like I said, over-promises and under-delivers. That's Ocean's fault. Even if the controls were better and you had a crosshairs, this game would be shit anyway. But, the developers are under no illusion about that. So there's two questions that sort of spring to mind based on this. Two clear questions. Why was this released at all? Because it's a rubbish piece of shit. Why didn't Ocean just have the courage to stand up and say, we need more time, and I know there's all sorts of licensing shenanigans, and I know that's not the business model, and I get all that. But if you're releasing this in this state, you're releasing this as something that's going to be selling the Commodore 64 to people, you are ripping people off because it's a false presentation of the C64. It's a false presentation of that game. People get excited. Oh, it's Operation Thunderbolt, big arcade. Makes it look really exciting. All the marketing materials make it look really good. And this game is nothing like any of the screens or anything that was put out there. And there's a reason for that. So that brings us the second question then. Why was it released? Because Ocean would have faced serious penalty clauses for not releasing it because it was tied to so many licensed products. Fine. Why did Zap review this so high when they'd never even played it? That is the killer question, I think. I don't know. Yeah. Now, famously, this scored... 92% on the C64. And the screens that are in the review in the magazine and the effusive comments from the people in there, or generally effusive comments, were that this was really great, it looked really amazing, blah, 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 blah. They gave it a glowing review. Now, this was a glowing review. But the screens that are in the magazine are not the same as the ones that are in the game. It's not the same game. And there's a reason for that, because it's not the same product. So, according to this chap, and what was his name? I forget the name of the chap that wrote the article. Paul Hughes. So, according to Paul Hughes, and his open and honest and candid article, which we'll link to in the show notes. According to Paul, the Zap team were brought into Ocean headquarters and were shown preview screens. Now, there was obviously some preview screen work that had been done by the original programmer of this, and that's the version that got scrapped because in actuality, it wasn't a functional thing. It was a rolling demo of a few screens that kind of looked the part, but that was it. Ocean had brought Zap reviewers into the Ocean headquarters, whatever that was, the dungeon, I believe they call it. And they'd shown them this in a giddy, exciting pub. They'd never played it. They never picked up a joystick. And according to Paul Hughes, they never even got a version of it to review, as far as I'm aware, or anything. So the review that's in Zap is complete falsehood. It's a complete lie. They never played that game. They never played the C64 version. They never played the version that was output in the end because they couldn't have done. Never had it. So they based that entire review, 2 pages of review, and all the percentage scores and all the commentary was based on a short, unplayed demo version of this game that never actually got put into production anyway. That's terrible. That's really shocking, isn't it? To think that in a magazine with such a high profile and prestigious past as Zap, one that has all of the sort of people, has a really big following and people really believe in the reviews. I mean, rightly or wrongly, we've been picking them apart a bit, but people really believed in Zap. I mean, when I was buying Zap, I really took their review seriously. If they said a game was crap, I generally avoided it. If they said a game was good, I'd have probably put it on my radar. Luckily, by the time piracy came along, it never really happened. But there's people out there that weren't as fortunate as me to have contacts all over and piracy and all the rest of it, all that kind of thing. Some people went out and bought Commodore 64s and bought this game at full price, thinking that Zappa said it's okay. Look at the screens in the magazine, it's okay. It must be good. When it was a complete lie. I think that shows a disgraceful contempt for the audience that had supported them to get them where they were at this point. What are we? What issue is this of Zap? It's issue, what is it?
57.
So 57 issues of Zapped where you've had the full and thorough support of all those fans and C64 fans and all the games and everything else. And people had your back in this. And you repay that by lying to the very audience that has supported you. I think that's so contemptible. I think it's disgusting. Now, I didn't buy Zapped at this point, and I have to say, if I'd have been in the situation where I had bought that game based on their review, I would have never have bought Zapped again. And I think this damaged their reputation because, of course, the truth of this eventually came out. So Paul, in his article, makes it very clear that the Zapped review cannot have been the game that finally came out. This was based on some unplayable preview. They never played it, and yet it claimed that they did, and it was all wonderful. And then later on, they re-reviewed the game in Zapped, a few issues down when it's, I think it must be out on budget. And so they re-review the game, and then they give it 57%, I think, in that review. But even then in the lower review, even then in the blurb of the review, they still have the audacity to make out that the original version they saw was some kind of faulty version, and that, no, it wasn't quite the same, and the version we saw wasn't this. And it's like, full well what happened. You went down to Ocean HQ, you saw a preview, and then you based an entire review on that, gave them a golden glowing review because you were given an incentive to do that, or at least you were threatened in some way to do that. There is absolutely no way it can be anything else, which also proves a number of things that we've mentioned all the way through all of this, isn't it? As we've progressed through all of the various Zappes for this podcast, we've watched it, teams change, churn with employees, different review styles. I get all of that. But out and out lying to people, that is wrong. That is wrong. People paid money for that magazine and they really bought into the reviews. I don't think they ever recovered. For me, they would never be able to recover from the damage that review did. And I think they even get picked apart in Lloyd's letters like forever after this. It's always mentioned. It still resonates now. And even our own Patreons brought this to our attention way before we even got to this game, saying, wait till you get to Operation Thunderbolt and the controversy that surrounds it. There's an entire section about this in games that weren't because of the nature of the game that wasn't. There's an entire article, like I said, written about it. We'll link to all those in the show notes. You go and do your research, read those, make up your own mind. I made my mind up about Ocean some time ago. I had a feeling that they were an unscrupulous developer when Robocop was released broken and all the other things that we've come across over time. So many silly things, so many mistakes, odd reviews in Zapped, magazine covers, marketing, promotions, and sponsorship. I get it. Well, that's the business of games, fine. But lying to your audience, I'm sorry, that's unforgivable. So the final thing I'll say about this, you know what? The Ocean developers that we used, they saved Ocean's ass in this. Yes, Ocean dropped the ball and they saved them by producing this thing, but they were under no illusion of what they did and they didn't read the reviews. They didn't need to. They knew. But this, for this to get the kind of reviews and to affect all those and be used to sell to innocent people on behalf of Ocean, that's a shitty thing to do. And then for Zapped to then quantify that with a good review, that's reprehensible. You're all guilty of ripping people off one way or another when you did that, and you're all complicit in that. And I don't think that's something I think we should ever look back and think this was thank God that they did this or that and the other. This is a category 1 disaster for a magazine of this type, in my opinion. These are my opinions, and yes, I'm open to be challenged about it. I'm just going by the evidence of what I see and from the people that made the game and by the game that I played. Reprehensible practice all around, Adrian. It's not very nice, is it? What did you think about all that?
Well, not much more to add to what you said. I'm interested in more about what was said in the re-review. It got 45% in the re-review later.
I overscored it myself.
You did.
Rubs off on you.
And just to sort of read out what they put in that re-review, considering what we know from the Paul Hughes article. So this is what October 91. So this is a year and a half later. It says Thunderbolt got a whopping 92% when first reviewed in issue 57, but the version reviewed was one we saw on an Ocean visit. Now, Paul Hughes states that Zapped came along and saw it, but they never played it. So they're stating there that they never played it. They didn't see it. They didn't have it in-house to review. So there's the proof that this is Zapped saying we never got it. Now, it also says there's lots of stuff in the wrap at the time. I've not read any of the letters. I might have a look through the letters after this.
I couldn't find any in there, but that's in the next month. There's a few. It'll
probably be in the next few months. Yeah, I'm imagining. So was reviewed when we saw an Ocean visit. Unfortunately, during the process of taking it off their development systems and putting it on tape, apparently insoluble problems arose. Well, that's
lies.
The programming team were pulled off the project. Yeah, okay, that's true. And a new bunch of guys knocked this effort out in record time. Yeah, so that's true as well. I mean, that's right. Not to say who, but it bore little resemblance to the original program at all. So there's literally written in the magazine that they never saw it, they never played it. You collate that with the Paul Hughes blog, and it's Zapped came down, they saw some things, and the screens aren't the same. So they obviously had some screens from this preview version, and they made it into the review. And if you read the comments in the review, it's interesting to read the comments, because the first comment, on the graphics front, it's all extremely attractive. This is the C64 version. Let me go to one where it's talking specifically about the C64 version. What drew me to the C64 game were the great enemy sprites, with a lot more shading and detail about them than the stick figures in Wolf. They move real fast as well. No, they don't. None of that's right. For the C64, which had a great Wolf conversion, the sequel offers dramatically improved graphics, playability, in short, double the gameplay and double the action. Amazing. Wrong. No, it doesn't. Nope. The graphics for the C64 version got 90%. I mean,
joke.
It's just nonsense. There's barely any frame. And I'm not knocking what was knocked up in 12 days. I can imagine knocking something together in 12 days on a Commodore 64 to do something like this would be a bloody nightmare. So I'm not knocking what they did, but you just call what it is. It's crap. It's crap because it's crap. You can't do anything about crap. It's just utter shit. And it plays terribly. Yep. And now half those problems come from Taito not allowing them to have a crosshair, which should have allowed for home computer versions. When how do you know where you're shooting? God knows. What do you do? It's just really bad. It's just a terrible, terrible thing. That's just a terrible, terrible game. And you get the 92%. And it's just, I'm guessing, Ocean are threatening to pull advertising or something went on. There's something going on here. This is a big push to sell these big bundles. You'd be well ripped off. I am going to go look at. We'll probably talk about this next week, because I'm going to go look at some of the letters and see what was sent in and see what was said by the magazine in response. Because I think because Lloyd Mangram is not a real person. He's an anagram, a Lloyd anagram. But we know this sort of thing. So this is obviously the people writing the magazine. Something's gone on here. It's really weird. And I don't know. But, it's just a truly hideous thing. It's just broken on all fronts. Everything around the Operation Thunderbolt, review, score, game, everything. It's a really bad indictment of the practices of both magazines and the software houses at the time. Terrible. There you go. Yeah,
it is terrible. And the notice, in the letters that I read, that when I was just scooting through, the theme I picked up, and this is prior to any mention to do with Operation Thunderbolt, there's already a thread in theme in there of your overscoring, what's going on. You can see that the people are starting to question the rationale of some of these scores and starting to question the what's going on, because it's starting to thread through into the aside from the why are you giving Amiga games these kind of scores, what's the preference, blah blah, the usual stuff. There is a thread in there of that. This disgruntled thread of how are these games getting such high percentages? Now, say what you think about that. When we've done this podcast, we've played some of these games. We call them out for what they are. There is no way on anyone's radar that Operation Thunderbolt was 92%. You'd be looking if it was 12% for me. It's really, but then I don't think that would come as any surprise to anyone that's played it. For a game that took 12 days to make, of course it looks crap. It looks like a game that took 12 days to make. So 12 is what you'd get. So.
Yeah, in a week of shit conversions, it takes the prize.
Yep, it does. So hot contenders. Yeah, there's a lot of contenders for awards for the end of the year at the beginning of the year.
Already,
they're normally at the end, but there you go.
We've got one for best game and we've got many for worst. Crapcade conversions. Anyway, there you go. That's Operation Thunderbolt. What a thing. What a thing.
Yeah,
Just to ask a question sort of thing. When we started this podcast way back, we had the idea and we started it. We didn't know what the later... I didn't know these things well. Did you think this is where it was going to go? It's weird, isn't it? I never had any indication or sort of inclination that this is the kind of stuff... I just thought we'd be looking at some games and the reviews match them, but there's weird stuff going on, isn't there? What going on?
There's been some revelations with doing this podcast. And I tell you some of the key ones. Two. One is that I didn't realise how inconsistent the Zapped reviews had become because I'd stopped buying Zapped. And the era where I bought Zapped, I really bought into them. And I never questioned them. And this is making me question and thinking, oh my God, were they... How many of those review scores were based on this kind of, what they saw as in a back office in 3 minutes, while they was having a cup of coffee with, somebody, or they saw it over the, in the rearview mirror of somebody's car as he was driving down the road. The other thing it's made me question more heavily, actually, I always held companies like Ocean in quite high regard. I always thought, up to this point, I'd considered them as kind of a bit of a benchmark of quality. I don't know why. I just kind of did, that's completely been unpicked.
That's the story that's been fed through, not just the time, but since books and films and documentaries and stuff. You watch them and you go, no shenanigans.
And I think they had a lot of really well-meaning people who they treated quite, they basically just got them to pump games out. And I don't think that's the way you should treat people. There's some really good talented people in there that were never really able to explore that talent properly, I think. And they really bailed them out the shit with this particular incident. And I don't doubt it won't be the last time it happens, What a tragedy. And they carry on producing stuff for other consoles. So that's what really winds me up. So this isn't the C64 isn't the end of Ocean, is it? They could carry on into other platforms, So this sorry saga of nonsense will probably continue into loads of others where they're just creating average games, ripping people off. They've got their business model, haven't they? And that's been a bit of an eye opener for me. And it's not just Ocean. There's quite a few like that. And where I've gone, where the games that some of the companies have solidified that reputation for me. Thalamus, I always thought Thalamus had a good reputation with games, and they've not really ever let me down with that.
No.
And System 3 to an extent, Mark Cale's crazy antics and writings aside, their games have had a consistency, and I'll always have time for some of them. But Gremlin and Ocean and US Gold and there's a whole bunch of them. I didn't realize how many crap games they were responsible for until we've done this. And well, I'm realizing it now. Goodness.
Yeah. Yeah, we are. So there you go. That's January over. What games we looked at though this week? Well, we looked at Retrograde, which was so far above the rest in quality. It might have as well been looking down from Olympus.
Yeah, absolutely.
Literally. Then we had Dragon Spirit. No, that wasn't very good. Pictionary. That wasn't very good. Ninja Warriors. That wasn't very good. Double Dragon 2. That wasn't very good. And Operation Thunderbolt, which was just a farce, all told. Just crazy stuff going on there. But we're not done, though. We're not done. There are a couple of crapverts for us to look at.
There are indeed. Oh, Ubisoft. Interesting. Oh, gosh. What is that?
I don't know.
Twin World.
Twin World with... it's like... I don't know. Is that Jester from Limmy's show? What is it? What's wrong with his arms? What is this?
That looks like that's been pieced together from different people.
Yeah.
Like the legs don't match the body. The body doesn't match the arms. The arms don't match the head at all. That's definitely different people bolted together.
Yep. None of it works. It's basically what we're looking at here is some kind of fantasy thing where there's I don't know, what is it? It's like a leprechaun or an elf or something in the centre in kind of a very airbrushed tree while some weird monsters go down and nothing looks right. Nothing looks good. There's some kind of weird bulbous palace in the background, like minarets and stuff. And it's called Twin World and it's got a dragon going through. It's just rubbish. They've tried, but they've gone all wrong.
Yeah, because the Twin World logo is indescribable because it's a mess. It looks like someone drew it with a glue gun.
It's melted. It's melted on the printer.
The dragon in the background looks like a pterodactyl to me. It looks like a dinosaur.
It does look like, it's a pterodactyl, not a dragon. Sorry, yes, forgive me. It's a pterodactyl.
The castle in the background is the Emerald Castle from what looks like the Wizard of Oz.
Yes, yeah, good.
In the foreground, you've got the happy midget in front of his tree. Looks like he's making a ball hover. I think.
I don't know.
I don't know quite when. He's resplendent in his green too short green tunic and red tights. If his tunic had been any short, we'd have seen his dangleberries right there.
Absolutely. Would have seen his elf juice.
His elf berries would have been right there, wouldn't he? And then he's being menaced by...
Would have seen his twin worlds.
He's being menaced by what... I'm not even sure how you describe them. It's like a Venus flytrap, but with human teeth. Which is really weird. I don't know what they even are.
Yeah, the one at the bottom, just to the bottom of his right sort of thing, looks like vagina dentata to me.
Yeah, exactly that. It is. Yeah, there's definitely a yeah, there is. I'm not even going to go any further than that. And then just really in the mid foreground, there's just like a house, just like a roof of a house.
Well, it's the landscape. It's like a landscape going off towards the castle, isn't there? Which is
just
there's a
really
lake
weird.
and stuff. What's that yellow thing coming out of the green thing's eye on the right?
I don't know. They're all a bit weird. I don't know. He's got a weepy eye, and I'm not even sure that's a good thing. And I don't know who that guy with the beard is, but he can't ever be happy that his face was used for that.
No.
No, it's utterly terrible. Their logo's really weird as well. It's like a gold embossed Pac-Man on top of a Sendor. I don't know what that means. It's just, what is this rubbish?
Don't know. The crapvert. It's a classic crapvert.
It's a classic. It looks like it's an Amiga game. It looks like it's Amiga or something.
Probably is.
Available on the ST and Amiga.
Yeah. We have one more. If you'd like to scroll down.
Oh goodness me! What is it with these Rambo type covers we've got?
It's like he's been caught as he was after have a shit.
He is definitely caught. He's caught short there, isn't he? He's just stood a poop in his pants like that for sure.
This is after the war. So we've got a sort of devastated landscape with the Statue of Liberty is in completely the wrong place. It's in the middle of the city.
And it's way too tall as well.
And it's way too tall. We've got demolished buildings. We've got sort of in the background, we've got like just your sort of typical sort of late 80s, early 90s street punks from things like Classic Nukem High and things like that and all those kind of stuff, Cobra. But center stage is our hero, or I guess he's our hero, and he's holding a big sort of M16 or something, big gun in the trailer. But he's crouching like he's looking at the screen like he's been caught short, and we've caught him going short. That's what they're all screaming about in the background.
Well, that man you just referred to there, Agent, that's Jungle Rogers. That's according to his
Jungle
blurb.
Rogers.
That's Jungle Rogers. Yeah. Boss of the urban jungle. You've got clearly this guy has just watched a series of films, and you can kind of spot them: Planet of the Apes, RoboCop, Mad Max, and Escape from New York. So there you go. He's watched those films, and every single one of those he's kind of and Commando. Yeah, every single one of those is in there.
But also on the right, there's some kind of spaceship type craft thing.
It's Ed 209.
It's Ed 209, isn't it? Yeah. So that's RoboCop. But this is called After the War with a dreadful logo at the top.
Oh, that logo with the Star Spangled, banner, American flag,
and then the massive green stroke around it.
Well, yeah, I mean that's the crime there. It's that they've put a green felt stroke around it and then put a stroke on that. Never double stroke, no, ever in any situation. I'm just saying, careful of the double stroke.
Double stroking is never a good thing, is it?
It's not. No, it's not. And then you've got that flame background, and then you've just got nondescript, muscular men in pants just pointing. What they're doing, I don't know. No,
yeah, you haven't,
yeah.
I just noticed they've not got any trousers on.
Yeah, they're just pant people. In the future, some people just wear pants. That's what I'm learning from that.
What would remain after a nuclear war? Rubble, ashes,
Pants.
Misery, destruction, armed thugs, powerful criminals, mad scientists, depraved murderers, and a man, Jungle Rogers. Boss of the urban jungle. When there's nothing else worth fighting for, you have to fight for your life by taking a poo in the middle of the street. Yeah,
he's running out of bullets any time now as well, because he's going to work his way through. He's got a little trail of bullet belt coming out of his ridiculous machine gun, which isn't going to help him because there's a guy there. There's loads of guys around him. He ain't got enough bullets to kill all them, let alone Ed 209 up there. And Angry Pantman's pointing. Something tells me he doesn't want him for his bullets. He's got other plans for Jungle Rogers. He could be saying, "Don't do a poo there," because it's like not there. That's the train track.
They're on the train track, aren't they? Oh dear. An old Mohican guy on the right is like touching his club, and he's really yelling.
That guy,
that's not the
Mad
toilet.
Max 2 guy. That's the Mad Max 2 guy. So he's from Mad Max 2.
He's
totally
from Mad Max
that guy.
2, yeah. And I'm trying to wonder what the pant people are from. What film are they from? Where are pant?
The underpant people. I don't Zardoz, maybe. I don't know. I'm not sure about that.
maybe Zardoz.
But he's also, it looks like he's holding a newspaper in the same angry that the guy in the Grange Hill intro did. The sausage is going to fly in a minute. Sausage!
I think we will be looking at this game.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
It comes out on the C64. Let's see if it's reviewed in Zap.
Yeah.
After the war. It's on there. Is it reviewed by Zap, though? Oh, it is. Issue 60. 3 months' time, we'll be looking at this.
We're going to be playing. I mean, his anatomy on the main character isn't bad, albeit that he's doing a, dump.
Yeah, there's some, overall, the drawings are all right, but it's just
I like
collage.
The ligature on his, and the way they've done the bandage on him. So he's clearly got a finger bandage on. So he obviously cut his finger really badly at some point, and they've just put it around his fingers. Like, we'll just wrap it around. You haven't got time to do that in field dressings, to just carefully wrap it around your little fingers and do delicate work. Wrap it round and round and round and round and round and put it on with the pin. Come on, field dressings. This is a future urban jungle. You don't have time to just stop for a quiet medic.
Jungle Rogers, find time.
Yeah, exactly. And he clearly didn't shoot any of those bullets around him, did he? Because there's no bullet casings, which there'd be loads of, by the way, if you stood there firing bullets at everybody. And he's pointing the wrong way and looking in the wrong direction.
He's been caught
He's doomed.
short.
He has. He's done a Tom Tit in his trousers, hasn't
he? It's like, I'm touching cloth. I got to go.
Yeah, that's it. And they're all going, no, not on the train line.
The train won't run. They don't need any excuse not to run. Please on the train. We shit on the train.
Ed 209, please put down your weapon and do not take a shit on our train line. You have 20 seconds to comply.
It's too late. Turtle's head's out.
Oh, his face does say that, doesn't it? His face says the turtle's popped his head out there.
Absolutely.
That is the face of that. He's like, he's got the teeth grit. You know, if you've ever been in that situation, you grit your teeth together. He's at that stage. It's nearly there. It's nearly it.
Absolutely.
The Death Star's nearly cleared the planet, shall we say?
You've nearly dropped the kids off. All right. Sorry about that. Let's get onto a chart. What was it? This chart is madness. Have you seen this chart?
Yeah, just looking at it like, goodness me, what?
It's according to Commodore User, for the month of January 1990, everything is a new entry. So
what is going on with that?
So number 10, a new entry, Shinobi. Number 9, new entry, Cabal. Number 8, new entry, Crazy Cars. No, it's not. That was been number 1. Number 7, new entry, Stunt Car Racer. 6, Ghosts and Goblins. These are all new entries. I'm not going to say anymore. Untouchables at number 5, Power Drift at number 4, Robocop at number 3, Paperboy at number 2, Encore, and Batman the Movie at number 1. There's some dreadful things in that list.
There really is.
Going down from number 11, new entry at number 11 is Cobra. That's a re-release. That's dreadful. Down from number 1 to number 12 is Rampage.
What?
I don't know. Down from number 5 to 13 is 100% Dynamite. Compilation. Yeah. Nigel Mansell's Grand Prix is down to 14. Up from 64 to 15.
Hey?
It's just gone crazy. Is Continental Circus. A new entry at 16 with Whizball. Down to number 17 from 12 is Barbarian. Up from number 57 to number 18 is Short Circuit. Down from number 2 to 19 is Strider. And up from number 41 to 20 is Father Christmas.
What the hell's that?
Don't know. Don't want to know.
I think they're making it up. I swear they're making it up.
I know. I don't know. It's just madness. Just madness. Right. February. I think February's a three episode month. It's quite a lot of games. There's a few games. Wow, we've got. So, for the C64, we've got Ballistics.
Okay.
Beverly Hills Cop.
About that. Oh, no.
That's not going to be good, is it?
No.
Blue Angel.
Never heard of it.
Then Bushido. That was that crap there with the symmetrical fighters.
God, it was, yeah. I don't think that's going to be good.
No. Chase HQ.
Okay, no.
Dead End.
Never heard of that.
Extra Time. I don't know. That's going to be some crap football thing, isn't it? Probably.
Yep.
Football of the Year. That's Football of the Year. We played that already. I don't know. We must have done.
I believe we have. Yeah. So.
Ghostbusters 2.
Oh no.
Iron Lord. If we see that, it might be a strategy one. So we might not look at that one. It came from the desert. Actually, he's reviewed in this issue as well next month.
It is. Yeah.
Then we've got Maze Mania.
Yeah, that sounds riveting.
Mega Nova.
Okay.
Shark.
Okay.
Shark. SimCity.
That'd be interesting.
It is. Supposedly, I was reading around. And by the way, just as a little footnote sort of thing, the article, the Paul Hughes article for Operation Thunderbolt, was sent to me by Lee Dove on our Patreon. So
I was going to say, I know our Patreons had made us quite alert of this, so well done, Lee, for that.
Yeah, give them some credit there. SimCity, and also they pointed out that SimCity was original. The C64 was the original version.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, we'll find it out, and so we play for that. But,
they're a clever bunch, those patrons.
Spitfire 40. Now, Spitfire 40 is an odd one, I think, because Spitfire 40, I think, is way back. It's a sort of re-release of one that we would have looked at in issue 3, but we never did. So we're going to pick it up now. There you go. Street Fighter, that's a re-release. And Tubin.
Okay.
That's it. That's what we've got for the next 3 weeks.
Okay.
Or the next 3 episodes, whenever they may be.
Some more mystery games to reveal themselves to see what they are.
Yeah, I know. But we'll see. But there's not much in the way of high-scoring games. There's no Sizzlers or gold medals. Dragon Wars. Actually, Dragon Wars. Did I mention that one? That got a Sizzler. I don't know what that is. That's one we missed. But there's nothing. Oh, Space Rogue. Did I mention Space Rogue? Space Rogue. That's in there. That's a gold medal. There we go. Space Rogue. Some big 3D space thing, filled in 3D space thing.
It's the people that made. They made the. What game? They made a really big RPG game. What was the big RPG? Times of Law. I think it's them guys.
Did they do that? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
could be interesting.
The Times of Law guys, I think.
Got a gold medal.
It doesn't mean anything.
It would
surprise
me. What was because Times of Law was by what's his face, wasn't it? The guy who went on to do Wing Commander, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. I think it's the Times. Yeah, I think it's the Times of Law people.
So it wouldn't surprise me if it is Sims, because that's space stuff. Wing Commander. There you go. Whatever
now
it's called.
The Zap scores are kind of irrelevant, aren't they? Because we never know whether they're truthful or not because they've lied. So
yeah, true. Who knows? Who knows where they got that score from? So that's it. If you want to support us, you can do that. You can do it over to patreon.com/Zapped to the Past and join our ever-growing band of supporters. This is always cool. Get access to the episodes early and ad-free. Join our Discord. Get chats on there. Get sort of challenges and high score tables and things like that. And just a general good vibe. Get to ask us questions for our Ask the Podcast. Get to submit your votes and stuff for our Bread Bin Awards and things like that. So if you want to go over there, do that. That's the price of a sandwich or a pint of beer or something. Patreon.com/Zapped to the Past. Leave us a Ko-fi or coffee on ko-fi.com/Zapped to the Past. Or reach out on Twitter or X, on Facebook. It's all cool. It's all good. And that's about it. Anything more to add on this episode?
No, I think we've given lots of people some food for thought. Go and read the articles that we put in the show notes and stuff. Make your own mind up about things. See what you think. But no more to add than that.
Indeed. And on that note, I think we'll call it a day. So I have been Adrian Mills.
And I have been Graham Raddings.
And you have been listening to Zapped to the Past, where our views are always honest. We will see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to the Zapped to the Past podcast. We hope you enjoyed our deep dive into the world of Commodore 64 games, as well as the music, films and TV from around the 1980s, driven, of course, by the issue of Zap 64 magazine published at that time. We will return with a whole new batch of games and stuff to talk about next week. Until then, if you want to listen to or download previous episodes of Zapped to the Past, and why wouldn't you, they can all be found on our website at zappedtothepast.com, as well as being available on Podbean, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Deezer, Audible, Player FM, and, well, pretty much anywhere where we can upload them. By the way, we do always love to hear from our amazing listeners, so if you'd like to contact us about anything in the podcast or beyond, you can do so by emailing us at zappedtothepast@gmail.com. We're also active on Twitter under @ZapTother, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and most social media platforms. Just search for Zapped to the Past and you'll find us. Oh, and if you like the podcast and what we're doing, please do like, share, review, rate us. It really helps. Something, apparently. The Zapped to the Past podcast is written and produced by Adrian Mills and Graham Raddings and recorded at Flaky Bits 2.0 Studio. All opinions expressed are those of the writers, and while we indeed love Zap 64 magazine, the Zapped to the Past podcast is not affiliated with it in any way. Stay safe, see you next time, and remember, we play these games so you don't have to.